Because you got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 537th edition of the Boxing Asylum NUTHOUSE podcast. I am your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call, we have Matty D. Leonardo, Andy Patterson, and rapping Rob Kelly, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The ad-free Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Sports Social. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice. Throughout the entire month of August, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. I don't read out the reviews very often, but keep listening to the show because later on I'm going to read out a few reviews. I was fishing about during the week trying to find a URL, and I found this website that collates all the reviews from outside of the UK, so from New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, America, etc. And there's some choice opinions on the podcast, let me tell you, Matty. So I've cut about 6 or 7 of them later on. Suffice to say, your American cousins aren't too fussed with the podcast. But we did have a celebrity endorsement before we get stuck into Usyk Dubois. We did have a celebrity endorsement this week. Rick Glazer was talking about podcasts. He said, to those that go and view boxing podcasts, be careful. Most of these hosts know very little, if anything at all. And there's plenty of them are race baiters. Those that are highly recommended are partners, Steve Kim and Mario Lopez, plus there's Coach Malachi, etc. And MTK enforcer Matty, Rick Reveal, jumped in and said, thoughts on the Boxing Asylum pod, Rick? He said, not familiar with that one. Must not be very good because no one has recommended me to watch it. So an endorsement there, Matty, from Rick Glazer.
Hey, in regards to Rick Glazer and his accusations, Rick, I may be many things, but I know my boxing.
Oh dear, yeah. We might not know much about boxing, but shout out to everybody listening and shout out to the chat. We'll listen to those reviews later on, so stay tuned. There will probably be value of the week material. We know what you're all here for, though. Let's get stuck into last night's action in Rocklaw. Dominic always laughs at my pronunciations. There's another one for you, Dominic. Poland. Alexander Usyk getting the win in the 9th round against Daniel Dubois. It wasn't without controversy, though. Rapping Rob Kelly, we'll come to you first of all on this one. It was quickly apparent to me Daniel Dubois was going to need a Foreman versus Mora moment, which he may or may not have landed in round 5. Up until that point, Usyk looked too fast. He looked too sharp for Dubois. But let's get right to the main point of contention, Rob. Forget about the first 4 rounds. To low blow or not to low blow? That is the question.
Yeah, I tell you what, I keep mentioning, we're in a solid time for boxing in 2023, and this fight was kind of flying under the radar with all the excitement of Crawford's bench and Tank Garcia and all that. But it was still an intriguing fight for me when we were talking about it last week, purely because Dubois can whack. And you know, he's had a new trainer at Don Childs. I think he did I wouldn't say exceptionally well, but a lot better than I thought he'd do. But up to that point, let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. I think the key takeaways from that are, yes, it was borderline. You could see it being called either way. I didn't think it was on the low side where, but then again, I'm not getting hit where the cup is getting fucking dragged up into my balls either. Like, so it's easy for me to say that, but from the impact and the TV angles that we saw, it certainly looked like it was a legit knockdown. Now, a couple of questions, like, does Usyk then just take a breather and get back up like he did with Beterbiev, or did he need that time to recover from that body shot before he could compete? Now, he did come back. So did he need that time? I think he did, because I think even after the 3.5 minutes or whatever he had to rest in between, absolutely dominating every second of every round. When he did get caught after that, his legs seemed to dip a little bit. I think Dubois buzzed him on the bell at one stage as well. So he had moments in there, but I think as well as that, you factor into the fact that you're up against a master boxer, wily character, a bit of a fucking Bud Crawford in that you hurt him and then he fucking comes back to try and take your head off. Like, Usyk's got everything about him. But then you have to add into that the fact that Dubois, after kind of showing us a couple of times at this stage, if shit gets too hot, he looks for a way out. And I think like, he took the knee in the round before that to save, but then still was looking at the 8 count like dodgily in the first knockdown, and then the second time you just know he's not trying to beat the count. Like, so I think that has to be said. Nothing against, no shots against Daniel Dubois, very young guy, very inexperienced against that kind of caliber opposition. I thought he did very well. Probably should have had his moment. I think hometown decision and all that's a bit harsh. I just think the ref was having a bit of a stinker anyway. Like, there was another stage Dubois buckled him with a body shot and he stopped the action to ask Dubois was he okay. So maybe it's a bit of a homer or whatever. I don't think it's like a conspiracy theory. I just think the ref was having a stinker. He probably missed that and probably could have called it a knockdown. But then you have to think, does Usyk get up and come through it? Seeing as the way he dominated the rest of the fight for every second, you'd have to say no point in a rematch. Like, Usyk hasn't fucking figured out at this stage, and it'll be only earlier. And I don't think fucking Dubois really wants it when it comes to it. And that's my kind of overall takeaway of the event.
Just a quick one, Rob, because I know you'll like this one. A few comparisons have been made to Bo Gallotta, but I think that's maybe a bit of a lazy comparison considering the fact in that contest, but Bo was the hometown fighter, very much so, as we saw straight after the fight. And also, Gallotta was boxing his ears off and then decided for some strange reason to start whacking him in the balls. So there are, it's not a strict comparison, I don't think.
But I think that's a good strategy for Daniel Dubois versus Alexander Usyk. Like, master the dark arts, dip low, hit him once as hard as you can in the fucking balls, and if you can't recover, then you have a chance to knock him out because he's going to be fucking feeling it for the rest of the fight. Take the point. You're losing every round anyway. Take the point deduction, hit him in the balls again. Like, that's what I would have done. But I think that I just think that Usyk there's no point in Frank fucking trying to lobby the fucking WBA for this rematch and all, make such a big deal out of it. There's no point. Usyk will fucking decimate him the next time. He did well enough. Probably should have had his moment. He didn't. There's fine margins in boxing. That's what it is. Like, but not a bad strategy for Daniel Dubois if he wanted to go after Usyk's balls and make him very feel.
Well said, Rob. He definitely felt that one all right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I have thrown the StreamYard link in the chat, so if you want to have your say and you have something reasonable to say, then feel free to jump on. The StreamYard link is in the chat. Andrew Thicket says, looking at several different still shots from around the net, it is actually clear to see Dubois' low uppercut shot trajectory. Matty, over to you on this one. I wasn't sure at the time, and I'm still not sure now. There's a multitude of angles, screenshots, opinions going around ahead of the incident itself. You can't automatically assume, which maybe some people have, that if Pabom had have called it as a legitimate shot, Usyk then would have been counted out. Dubois would have won. We don't know for sure what would have happened in that scenario. He was hurt, no doubt about it. And a logical conclusion could be that a Dubois stoppage was then on the cards, but we don't know what would have followed for sure. We've seen Usyk maybe hurt against Joshua in the past. I think he would have dragged himself up and carried on fighting. Now, what condition he would have been in, and if he would have been able to see out the round, let alone the fight, is open to debate. But the automatic assumption that if it had been turned into account, he would have stayed down, I don't think you can necessarily follow that conclusion, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, Steve. There's no guarantee on how anything would have gone following that if it had been ruled a knockdown. Would he have made the count? Would he have not made the count? Would he have survived the round? The only thing that I think is really relevant is that Pabon pushed Usyk to take more time. Usyk said he was ready. Pabon said, no, take another minute. And that's where I think the bias was at. If there's anything that anybody's looking for that just seems a little bit off kilter, that's where I would be going. As far as that goes, the shot, I mean, you look at it, I mean, it all depends on where the ref was at the time. I think it was a real 50-50 shot, Steve, depending on where you're standing. So what you can't really cry about that, but the extra time I think is worth complaining about if you're looking for how Dubois might have been done wrong. But then you look at that, he didn't really go guns blazing necessarily after that either. So there was a little bit of a desire deficit on the part of Dubois anyway. So he didn't seize the moment regardless. Sometimes it doesn't go all your way, but you clearly have a guy that's a little more limited in front of you following that. You should probably follow up. And he didn't. And then he paid the price down the stretch. Just kind of threw in the towel at the end there. Didn't seem like he wanted much more. But I still think you can really big man Usyk, and I gotta lean Fury if they ever do get that on.
Yeah, I think this time Pabon's actions were egregious, but as Tosh says there, I've been vocal in the past about referees do annoy me who kind of trying to rush the fighter back into the action whenever they do have 5 minutes. But even I was starting to get fed up with this one, and Usyk did say at times that he wanted to continue, and the referee was kind of pushing him back. So these hometown decisions, we know the way they go. We know where their bread's buttered, and Pabon has been a bit of a dodgy ref in the past. Andy, Tim Bradley was on the ESPN call for some strange reason, along with that idiot Tessitore. He was calling for more body work from Dubois, but Dubois was maybe a little bit reluctant to throw the low shots after that, maybe worried about getting a point deduction or something, especially considering the fact Usyk seemed to be micromanaging the referee at times. We've seen this in the past, haven't we? Constantly pointing over to the referee, and then the referee jumping in and doing whatever the hometown favourite says to them to do.
Mate, with how many fights have we watched through the decades of following the sport? We've seen, egregious low blows, go unpunished. We've seen the Hatton respond to Zhu's low blow. We've seen borderline shots go uncalled. We've seen Gallotta literally ruin
Combos to the balls.
Aye,
Combos.
Exactly. We've seen last night, for example. We've seen the situation with Dubois. We've seen the situation with Kuzabutsky, and we've seen the situation. The referee in the Anderson fight made it absolutely clear where the low blows are legal. Sorry, where the shots are legal on the body, roughly at the front. Now, at first on live viewing, I thought it was. I thought Usyk was maybe buying it a little bit. At one point, I did notice his right hand shaking a little bit. I said, he's not looking good. And I thought at one point when he tried to kind of like roll over, I thought he was going to vomit at one point. He looked at the corner, he wasn't looking too good, and then when he did seem to kind of recover, you seen the eyes just switch, man. It was like he just marked down Dubois' life, or exit life basically, because he came out there. If you look at it as well, the fifth round, I know he got caught maybe late in the round, that, but look how he responded once that action was started. That he was on the front foot, and he was pretty okay. He wasn't on the front foot immediately, but he was eventually coming back into it, more into it actually before the round ended. I personally think after rewatching it all and just looking at the stills and that, as well, as I think it is a low blow. I think it's below the belly button, therefore it is a low blow. No, we don't know exactly what's happened in that area when he's took the punch. Has it brought the cup up? Has it caught his knackers? Has it really twisted them? Look, if you've been hit there, or I played football as well, if you've ever taken a football there before, and that, it's bloody painful. You know yourself how you react. You go down to your knees. You're in a bad shape for at least 2 or 3 minutes. Depending how hard you've been hit and that. Now, I think Usyk is pretty honest guy, but he's also using the experience in that there as well. If he's hurt, obviously he's going to take time out. They didn't take the full 5 minutes, for what I recall, was what 3.5, 4 minutes he took. He wanted to get back into it. The referees remind him you need to take the full 5 minutes. I think Dubois had been landing some borderline, again, low blows throughout the fight. There was Usyk maybe mentioned it to the referee as well. We've seen fighters mention about punches behind the head, behind the ear, behind the rabbit punches, so to speak. The only thing I could probably say there last night, probably didn't go down too well, was the referee wasn't clear in his instructions before the fight. He made it absolutely clear. He should have made it clear there in front of the public where these blows can land. Unless he's done it behind the scenes everybody knows it. We've got Frank Warren and that coming out now saying as it was discussed. You've got Team Music saying something different. So it's just not what we need in that. And another thing as well is that this whole thing, this whole situation has now detracted from the fact is that Dubois quit. He quit the fight. He got stopped on a jab there last night, by the way. Let's not forget that as well.
A swivel jab, Andy. A swivel jab.
I don't care. It's a jab. And he took the knee again for the second time. And look, I'm not want to say that he swallowed it or whatever and that. But look, what's everybody else going to say? Right? And you're right, Steve. You know, we just don't know how Usyk would have reacted if the referee started counting. Would they have got up? Would they continued? Would they take a knee again, for example, if he was that badly hurt? Maybe try and buy himself some extra time, get through the round. Maybe take a couple of knees, lose the round, lose the points, then come back into the fight, which he ultimately did. It's probably just poor communication. That's another thing as well is with Dubois. You had your chance, mate. You had your chance. You should have been right over the top of him at that point, and you let it go. You absolutely let it go, and then you let Usyk get back into the fight, and then 4 or 5 rounds later, that was it. But at the end of the day, is this? It is the referee's discretion, where he decides that what's low, what's not, and that. I think Usyk's belly button would have been roughly, where his top of his cup was, or the top of his trunks would have been. That's where his belly button would have been. Okay, so therefore, if you look at the shot, in my opinion, yes, it's only my opinion, it is a low blow after going back and checking it. And I did check the WBC rules, although the WBC title wasn't on the line. It also states as well, low blows are any part of the body below the navel. It was below the navel, in my opinion. Low blow. Look, job done. But we don't need a rematch. Maybe after he fights, what's his name? Hergovich, possibly. But I think the low blow detracts for the fact that how the fight ended, and that was with Dubois taking a knee and then basically seeing out the fight and got stopped in a jab, basically.
Yeah, well, pretty much. A swivel jab or an up jab, as Seb would have said back in the day. 8 count says Dubois had already low-blowed Usyk many times before the controversial knockdown. The ref wanted Usyk to recover properly. And I agree with him. So there you are, 8 counts jumping in. Terry Woodfine says Triple D is a leader of the BLM movement, proves it by taking the knee at every opportunity. For fuck's sake, Terry. Matty, what about you? What about you on the ending there? What happened at the end? Had Dubois rather shot his bolt? Did he want out of the fight, as Andy suggests? Other people have said this as well. Talk to me, Matty.
Yeah, I think he wanted out. I think he might have felt like the deck was a little bit stacked against him, and he just couldn't seem to find any shots that were meaningful after that. Well, I mean a couple, but really nothing in the last few rounds of the fight. And I think it really started to get bad for him when Usyk started to be able to find that right hook. He'd been looking for it early and just missing it, the shade every time. And then it seemed kind of after the low blow round that he started finding a home for it. And that seemed to kind of spell the end for Dubois. And I kind of do think he took the easy way out on it. I don't know if he had a chance at that point in time. Yeah, he did seem like he went to the knee and just waited for the count to get near 10 and decided to take his check and go home. Hopefully he was on time for his return flight, though. I heard that he missed his departing flight.
Oh, well, hopefully he's all right anyway. Number 1, Matty picked up on something that I was going to mention. I completely forgot about it there, actually. By the way, the StreamYard link's in the chat if anybody wants to jump on and have your say. The StreamYard link's in the chat. Number 1, Paulie TV, I don't know who that is, maybe Malinazi, I expect, was saying the canvas was wet. Didn't seem that way to me. This is something they're going to have to get on top of.
You can hear it. You can hear their feet.
You could see it pissing down. But this is something that I mentioned a few weeks ago when we were at the Failer. And the fighters had water on their back. It was the wind was starting to blow it into the ring and all. They're gonna have to get a grip on this, The same again last night. If it starts pissing it down with rain, these sort of 10 feet square, whatever it is, canvases over the ring with the rain coming in, the wind and all the elements and whatever, they're gonna have to get a grip on this, Matty, or stop having outdoor fights or something, because this is starting to become a problem, I think.
Yeah, I think there's issues with having all these things in football stadiums, and it's I go back thinking about one of the worst ones I recall was probably Sergio Martinez against Martin Murray in Argentina, and that one, I mean, Sergio with his bad knees, I mean, that was just spelled disaster. Lucky to get out of there with a win in that fight. And they're trying to obviously get them as much occupancy as they possibly can. But I mean, given it's so much more prominent for storms to happen in the afternoon, or excuse me, more so in the evening times, they might need to think about pulling some of these fights back a little bit, and I think a lot of people in England would certainly appreciate it, because then they might be able to catch a train back home walking out the doors. So something worth considering going down the road, because this does seem to be fairly common when you think about it.
Yep, all you promoters, listen to Matty there. He's given the advice. Chase Athletic says Canvas was soaked. K2 Promotions. We'll be talking about K2 Promotions later as well, regarding Anthony Yigit. Andrew Thickett says Dubois, a bit of a conundrum. Seems willing to fight anyone, regardless of their advantage in experience and skills, yet dislikes the fight when he is facing adversity. Mark Stanton says at least Michelle Hall Phelps didn't get wet. I don't have any opinion on Michelle Phelps, to be honest.
Jesus!
But I'll tell you what, she's
How do you know she didn't get wet?
What the fuck? That's fucking senseless.
She's worse than Bellew, isn't she, man? Since she retired, we've seen her more often than ever. I think she's turning up all the time in all the videos.
She retired 3 weeks ago.
Well, now she's living off of student loans. So I can live the good life.
Well, I think Steve, I think the semester starts back in September, possibly, mate. So
all right, okay.
It's summer break.
Yeah, still freelancing at this point.
Freelancing, right?
She'll be going to Acapulco in late March for spring break.
Well, good luck to her. Good luck to her. That's what I say. There's the picture on the screen that was sent to me anyway. Here's one for you, Andy. A bit of an interesting take. Latika Dog. I don't know where this came from. Reddit or somewhere. I think someone put it in the Nutters chat. It was definitely low, and I think Usyk saw what happened to Lomachenko with Salido and has vowed to never let that happen to him, because he seems very sensitive to low blows and is super quick to call them out, which I think is a good thing, says Latika Dog.
I don't think the first thing that went through Usyk's mind when his bullets were rippled, man, it was about Loma getting
a fight nearly 10 years ago.
Exactly, mate. I think he's just kind of worrying about, I ain't feeling too right now, guys. You know, I might need to jack this. You know, like fuck, come on, man. Well, yeah, I take his point. It's definitely a low blow, but you know, I had to go back and watch it so I can change my opinion. It's okay to change your opinion, guys. Those that are running the narrative. He definitely looked for it. You definitely look for it. You know, I made a mistake, and I've changed my mind after like looking at it in very kind of close detail.
Us men are stubborn, Andy.
I know, but then again, you know, you want views and clicks and retweets and that type of thing, and that, you know. So, but I don't think the first thing he's thinking about is Loma Salido. I'm just thinking about, oh fuck, man, my bollocks or whatever and that, you know. So, look, only Usyk knows how much pain he was in. Yes. We don't know, as I says, you know, the trajectory that cup took, if it did take anything like that. But as I says, on second viewing, on many viewings, different angles, that type of thing, it does look like it's below the belly button. Therefore, illegal. So it's okay, guys. You can change your opinion. It's okay to be wrong. Okay, I was wrong and I've changed it. So.
This morning for breakfast, Usyk had eggs and they were scrambled.
Oh, yeah. Scrambled eggs, scrambled brains. Let's look at what's going to happen for the next, for the both of them. Daniel Dubois, I'm not really sure where he's going to go. He had a nice little payday, though. That's the main thing, I suppose, Matty. First, AJ and now Dubois have both enjoyed success to Usyk's body. Will the third man of UK boxing, Tyson Fury, will he be the man to finally snap him in half and end this unbeaten run?
Do you just get this weird feeling like Fury, he's just such a fucking weird guy, and as much as he pisses us off, he's so talented, and he can box when he needs to box, he can big man when he needs to big man. I just get this feeling like he's just like this whole waiting on Usyk thing and making us think that he's afraid to fight him is just all bullshit because he's, you know, fucked out of his gourd. And he's going to go in there and he's going to take out Usyk in 6 rounds or less. He's just going to go in there and just wallop him. To the body or not, I don't know. He's just going to big man. I mean, if you look through Usyk's resume at heavyweight, I mean, impressive as much that he's come up. He hasn't exactly fought a murderer's row of heavyweights at this point in time, and he hasn't really fought anyone who has the ability to do that. That's just not AJ's style. He's too tepid, too passive, working behind a jab to fight that kind of fight. So it'll be it'll be interesting. And if you look regarding him taking his body shots, I find it really interesting. If he's bulked in the stomach, like, you know, his abs are still visible, he's still cut, but he's got bulk in his stomach, like he's visibly been trying to build himself up there. So it's just something I noticed.
While Usyk hasn't fought a murderer's row of heavyweights, do you think the fact that he unified the cruiserweight division undisputed and then moved up as the smaller man and beat Joshua twice, etc., gives him a little bit more kudos?
Oh, I think it's incredible. I think doing that like assured a trip to Canastota. He's a Hall of Fame fighter for what he's done at this point. But it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that he'd be able to hang with some of these other heavyweights. Like I really think, regardless of who has the belts, the heavyweight division is still Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They're not 1A and 1B like before they fought, but they're still 1 and 2 by leaps and bounds. Honestly.
The chat are still divided, much like Usyk's ball sack. One foam says, "No way was it a low blow. Usyk doesn't like the body shots, rolled around the ground like a child. Lost all respect for him. No more respect from one foams." aka Leslie Nielsen. Kaiser Cobra says, "Shots to the top of the cup can hurt. Watch Tito hit Vargas on the belt and the visceral reaction. Of course, Vargas didn't milk it, Andy, but he was hurt."
I'm just trying to rack my brain actually. All the people have milked something. Remember Floyd milking that Maidana apparently bit him through a boxing glove and a fucking mouthpiece, and he was like crying about it and that. Did you lose all respect for Floyd there for trying to kind of buy a decision? What about Corrales spitting out the mouthpiece twice against Castillo to buy time because he needed the time to kind of recover? And what happens? Comes back with one of the greatest finishes of all time. Ali getting dropped off Henry Cooper, and then all the shenanigans.
The glove shit.
The gloves, this is a fight, man. What the fuck?
It's boxing, not ballet.
Yeah, Christ.
If it was up to me, Orlando Salido would referee fights. That's what I want.
You should get back to the refs back in the 20s and 30s, man. Literally just didn't even bother with the mandatory 8 count. Just let the fighter hover over the top of the guy when he's on his knee. You see the second he stands up again, just start punching him again.
That's right. Yeah, the fighter wasn't pushed back to the neutral corner, were they? Until quite recently.
It all changed with Dempsey Tunney too, and that was a rule that Jack Dempsey himself asked for that ultimately cost him the fight.
That's right. He'd asked for it after the fight with the Argentinian. Was it Firpo or something? I think, and then it came back to bite him years later.
I think it might have been after the first Tunney fight. Wasn't that the second one?
I thought it was to do with the Firpo fight, but I'll not argue with you because I'm no historical genius.
The fact that I know that much should impress everybody at this point in time, so we'll just run with it, Steve.
Terry would find that you just remember me mentioning Hopkins. Hopkins was always crafty, using the referee as blindside as well. Hector Camacho did it as well. Hector Camacho to try and buy time. See when he went into a clinch and the referee split them up.
Boxing is not a gentleman's sport.
Watch Camacho. Watch what he does. He always goes behind the referee, so it then gives the referees then lost him. So he's trying to look for him. He's then got to kind of step back, and I get that used to buy Camacho 5-10 seconds of kind of precious rest. They were all at it, man. They know how to buy time if they're hurt. If they're hurt by an illegal blow or a legal blow, whatever it is, they know how to.
Sweet Pea used to do it too. He used to swing his hand over to the opposite side of him and catch his opponent like behind the head in a clinch and shit like that. He would do all sorts of freaky shit on the opposite side of the referee.
Duran stopped Ken Buchanan with a volley of low blows.
He ruptured pure Ken's bollocks, man.
See, and poor Andrew Galata watched that and he thought, poor Polish kid is like, oh, that's a great finishing method right there. And then he gets disqualified for it. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Poor Galata. Andy, you've often described this sport as the red light district of sports. We're talking again about controversy. Once again, this week, we've seen some more controversy in boxing. Robert Helenius as well getting done for PEDs. Again, another one who needs to keep the receipt. We're seeing mismatches all the time. We'll go on to Adam Hamed shortly. Dodgy counts. We're seeing suspect officials both in and out of the ring. Relentless PED issues. Drugs, cheats exposed. Boxing will always survive. We're always going to be the dickheads every Sunday evening speaking about it. But is the sport's credibility on the ropes a little bit at the moment?
What credibility, mate? Fuck's sake. It's no credibility, man. How it still survives, actually, with the amount of credibility it's got left, man. It's incredible. Because just the amount of shit that goes on, the amount of
it was
dishonest stuff. I mean, look, you had a fighter there last night, meant to be fighting on primetime television, who then gets hit with legal letters and he gets stuck on fucking YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
So despite the fact that there were great fights and some incredible quality of fighters at the time. 90s heavyweight boxing is what killed boxing's credibility. Because if you think about it, through everything, you had Tyson going to jail on a rape charge. You had Tyson biting Holyfield's ear. You had Morrison testing positive for HIV. You had the Fan Man incident during Holyfield against Bo. And I mean, I'm sure I'm even missing things. You had what's his bucket crying in the ring against Lennox Lewis.
McCall. Yeah,
it was like, and it all kind of fit in with that whole Jerry Springer era, though, right? You know, right guys, right time in its own way. But from there, it was just kind of a moral decline. Kind of just echoes society in its own way, does it not?
I don't know what he's been caught for, Hellenius, but the thing is, he deserved to be banned for putting up a performance because he even took the drugs in the fucking first place, and he puts up that performance. It was pretty pathetic, actually. So I don't know what it is he's been caught for, to be fair. So it could be anything. But yeah, look, I think Larry Merchant said it best. What was it he said again? It says nothing can kill box. No, what was it he said? What was Larry Merchant's?
If I was 50 years younger, I'll kick your ass.
No. It was like he says nothing can destroy boxing yet. No, nothing can improve boxing, but nothing can kill it, or something along those lines. You know,
I wish Donnie was here. He probably fucking know that one.
I've kind of butchered that a wee bit, but mate, we see it every week. There's always some sort of controversy, and then again you've got people picking sides, and it's been pretty full on. I mean, I see Derek Chisora trying to bring race into it now as well, and that kind of a black man winning in the white man's backyard, especially Poland. Oh, mate, fuck's sake, come on. They need that shite. And then obviously, just bring it up, Nazim Hamed's son literally fighting a 17-year-old kid who looked like he's malnourished, man. Look at he needed fucking 2 plates of porridge, man, for his breakfast.
Honestly,
man,
you could be the next Manny Pacquiao at that rate.
You look like a rake, man. And then you've got Hamed saying after the fight that I'm a dangerous man. A dangerous man? You just pick up a 17-year-old fucking laddie.
A rake victim.
17-year-old.
That was bad. That was bad, wasn't it? That, my God.
It just the vibe I get off it. I get the vibe off a son who is living a millionaire lifestyle in Dubai or whatever it is, and he's fucking bored with life. So I'll become a boxer. You see everybody else doing it. Well, I've never fought before, amateur or professional, so this is my first fight apparently, so we don't know what he's going to be. But I tell you what that was, man. That was like watching a Chris Eubank Jr. Early doors fight. That's what that was.
Yeah. Oh, I thought even worse. It was watching, like, do you remember Andrew Flintoff had that fight? I thought it was into those kind of realms.
Well, so speaking of the fuckery afoot here, so I mean, is it good enough time to go into Yigit and everything that he said regarding what he dealt with?
Well, I've got a video to play of him. Let me just close this out quickly. Sorry, Matty, because Des said the top of the short sits level with the navel, low below. Amazed how many boxing people are pushing Dubois was robbed narrative. Perhaps it's to distract us from the way Daniel capitulated.
That's what I said
at the end. That's what Andy said as well. And a more important comment, more serious comment from Jason. He says, "Be hard to low blow Donny with that suit on." He had got quite a high waistline, Andy, when we saw him last time.
And the bulging waistline as well, mate. Inshallah. He looked like he was dressed like one of the kind of goat herders. What do they call them? The Bedouins in the fucking
Bedouin
in the Iraqi desert.
Well, and how do you harm them? And anyways, in the philosophical sense, how do you harm the manhood of somebody dressed like that?
Exactly.
His wife wasn't too. His wife's looking up to says, "What the fuck am I married to?"
He got dressed in a power cut, as Andy would say. Anyway, on to serious matters on the undercard. Then, so I suppose it was technically the chief supporter. Though we had Hamed and some kind of 4-rounder coming on because of the early Shiraz finish. Denis Berencik getting a 12-round decision win over Anthony Yigit, scores a 115, 113. 116, 112, and 117, 111. Yigit was none too pleased with his treatment, though, after the fight, as he put up on Twitter. I've cut the video here for you if you haven't seen it, so let's listen to what Yigit was complaining about.
Right, so after the fight, I have a cut here and I have a cut on my head, and also this is swollen up, and I told them I need this stitched, and they told me in the event that they can't do it because they don't have the equipment for it, and that I need to go to a hospital to do it because they have the equipment there. I said, okay, so let's go. And they said, no, we can't take you to the hospital. I said, why? They said, yeah, because the ambulance is only for life-threatening injuries. And I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? And they told me that I need to get to the hospital by myself. So basically, I just fought my fucking heart out, and then they just, like, oh, thank you, Anthony, so much. All right, get the fuck out of here because, we don't care anymore. So I came to the hospital after a lot of fighting. Finally, they decided to get me to the hospital with the ambulance, and then they just dumped me there. And luckily they could stitch me up, and now I'm outside the hospital with no ride. I'm just standing here. K2 Promotions. I expected much better from you. You guys are supposed to make sure that fighters are safe. I'm just lucky I didn't get a cut like Badu Jack, or some of the other cuts. You've seen them. What's going to happen then? Huh? If I get cut that bad and you guys can't stitch it up on the place, what's happening then?
Well, to be fair, Vitaly and Vlad are probably a little bit busy, so this probably goes to whoever is beneath them in the organization.
Banter, is it you call him, I think?
I'm just double checking something now, Steve, right? Just bear with me a second, but I'm pretty certain was the Abdul Salamov Mike Perez fighting on a K2 show, or were there no party involved in it or something like that? That's a couple of times. That's a couple of times now, possibly, but that's bad to see that actually, because say that he was told to say everything that's true, right? And he didn't get the ambulance at all, and he had to go to the hospital, and he collapsed en route, like what happened to Abdul Salamov. Fucking hell, man.
Well, the Abdul Salamov fights changed the whole trajectory of New York boxing, didn't it? Regarding the insurance and everything, yeah.
I think it put a lot of promotions off actually from even putting shows on in New York for a couple of months, at least for a number of months anyway. But it's bad that, like, because he was badly bruised, and it was a tough fight, to be fair, and like, so you just don't know, like, after things have settled a wee bit, what can happen to a fighter and afterwards, yeah.
I know in the UK that, well, in America from time to time, Matty would see them sort of being pulled about in various states without any oxygen or anything. Ever since certain incidents in the UK, notably Eubank Watson, they're a lot more stringent at ringside. I've sat at shows before when they can't go on because the doctors or the ambulance or both are away and they have to be back in the arena for medical protocol. But obviously in some other countries or whatever, or some other promotions, Matty, they might not be as stringent or as, financially ready to sort of cover those costs.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those things that when you scale it to larger fights with larger purses, there's more opportunity to be able to expand your services. But considering how many seats were sold for that one, you'd think that they would have been able to provide top-notch care for the fighters. And not too far off topic, I don't think. I think it goes into kind of what Terrence Crawford is saying with he wants to see more, like, potentially the sport be unionized or some sort of uniform protection for the fighters. And I don't know, maybe that should be part of the discussions about what has to be done, And the problem is, I guess it's kind of like, flying domestically in the United States. It's the TSA rules are never the same from airport to airport. Some of them require you take this out of your bag, and some of them don't care, and some of them require that you take your belt off, and some of them don't care. Blah blah blah. Well, if a rule isn't completely uniform, then it can't be complete necessity, right? So I think there needs to be a discussion of what is in the best interest of the fighters in these situations, so that we can preserve their health and potentially their life in the worst situations. And if we're not starting the conversation with that, I think our priorities are out of line. So, if any repairs need to be done to the sport, as pissed off as we might be about sanctioning bodies and judging and referees, et cetera, maybe we should start by looking at what steps should be taking in all jurisdictions for the fighters and in the best interest of their health.
See on that point, actually, see like all other sports like football, NFL, basketball, and that. I'd imagine all those players go through stringent medicals, right? CAT scans, check.
I don't know, man. If you think about it, Andy, as many of these guys end up with like CTE later in their career and shit like that, they're not obviously looking that fucking hard.
They're team sports as well, though, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah,
so
but
they have a union
on the teams to get that sorted, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah,
regarding unionism, the union and stuff like that, Andy, we've heard people come off of that in the past, but it never gets pushed forward, like in pensions and that. And in fact, in the UK, we've had people going on about unions for fighters, and then all of a sudden they're in management and promotion themselves, and having unions for fighters is the farthest thing from their mind they can imagine.
Nah, man, they're all in it for their own
Exactly.
gain, to be fair, mate. That's at the end of the day, it's always been like that, mate. It doesn't matter if it's this year, next year, last year, or even going back 100 years. Boxing's always been the same, mate. It's always been full of chancers and people want for a quick buck.
Well, and maybe it should be falling on the sanctioning bodies too, because if you think about, like, these fighters are paying them pretty good, and that's interesting. Why might a fighter not want to pursue unifying a division? Because that fourth belt, they're giving away 10% of their purse in total between the four sanctioning bodies, of their purse to them. So why are they going to want to do that? Why are they want to give away that much money? You're talking about for the bigger fights, I mean, upwards of $1 million.
Yeah, but see, at the same time as most,
but if they're paying them that much fucking money, then that should be one of those things that they're, at least in these title fights that they're sanctioning, for their rankings, they should be providing it, because if the fighters are paying them, there has to be some return on investment other than just some goddamn trinket.
Go ahead, Andy.
I can't remember what I was going to say, mate. It was. I was just going to say, like, mate, most of these, like these four belt fights and that these days, and that's usually like the top end guys, where money's not really much of an issue for them, really, to be fair. But obviously, in the end, you've seen Floyd unwilling to pay some certain sanctioning fees. It's happened in certain fights and that before. But yeah, I agree. Man. At the end of the day, they say that they're non-profit, but you say they're taking, what is it, they're 3-4%, and they're in the rules, not how much they're meant to be paying. Certainly, like agent fees and eliminator fees and mandatory bids and all that. It's just crazy, man. But I don't know. The best way it would be is just to get rid of them all together. We've mentioned it all before, but what do you do with them?
Boxing pound for pound Jack says actually there was a cap of $300,000 for sanctioning fees.
For heavyweight though, eh?
Yeah. Well, the weren't the WBC trying to bring in some kind of pension thing?
Okay, but is that per body or in total? Like, that'd be the question.
Must be per body, surely. They're not going to want to split all own that meager amount between them, are they?
So you can get up to so you can get up to $1.2 million on that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're talking, mate, that's quite like one of the mega fights if you're going to get like the four belts in the line. I mean,
yes, that's literally Crawford Spence kind of money. Yeah. But you're talking like
AJ
for some of these average fights and things like that. These guys, getting that $1.5 million kind of PBC payday, splitting 2.5 between them, 2 belts on the line. I mean, so you're talking at that point in time, they're probably giving up $100K a guy, 200, maybe a little bit more. It's pretty substantial. I mean, you can't provide a fucking oxygen tank at ringside.
Yep, exactly. Well said. Right, let's close out the undercard then. Andy, I know you struggled to see some of it like me. Baranchik getting the win over Yigit. Shiraz looked $1 million against Mitrofano, but he was about 3 foot taller than him. Beat the shit out of that fella. Didn't see
10 years ago, different fight, man. Different fight.
Quite possibly. Shakushin, whatever you call him, lost to, oh my God, this is an even tougher name, Nagami Sengwe. I'm struggling this week with these ones. He just got outworked, to be honest. I did actually see a bit of that one, yeah.
I've never seen that one, mate. That would have been a shock, because I think that Fedor, but we'll just call him Fedor, he was favoured to win by decision, I think it was.
Yes.
Never seen it, mate. I only seen Hamed. I caught the last 7 or so rounds, the Yigit fight, and my stream died on me on the Shiraz fight, but I did catch the first round. He was looking pretty good on the jab, wasn't he, with the kind of long arms?
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to see the actual finish itself, apart from what's on Twitter and that. So yeah, it's a good win for him, actually, to be fair.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
However you pronounce that Ukrainian guy's name, him against Derevinchenko from the World Series of Boxing, that's a quality 5-round scrap if you get a chance to look it up on YouTube. Good time.
Thank you for the recommendation, Matty. Before we move on to the rest of the action, let's have a look down the chat, see who's hanging around their vibrant chat tonight. There's about, the big fights, bring out the big numbers, 43,736 in the chat, including Jim McDonald Boxing, doing the Lord's work as a spanner there. We've got Mr. Dermo as well, sliding in. The number 1, Mark Stanton, pound for pound, boxing pound for pound Jack, is giving some sanctioning fee advice as well there. Harvey Price Boxing has returned alongside Johnny. We've also got, who else have we got in here? Just going up, Northern Monkeys in there, Sad Ken, James Webb, RO, Leon the Canteen has stopped by, Boxing Channel 2, David Mustard. Let's just scroll up and see Kaiser Cobras there. Saw Danny
He
Young
used to
there.
be Colonel Mustard until he was caught in a murder.
He got outed, violently outed, exactly. Stephen MCM is joining us on this Sunday evening. So is MB. Andrew Thickett representing over on Facebook, our lone listener. Chilo35, that's Jason Cheel. Patrick S, Terry Woodfine, F Google, James G. Des is there as well. So is Frank Fitzgerald. Madman, Chase Athletics, our American correspondent. Nikki Shellard. Or Nicky Shallard, as Matty might say. Albert Ross is there. Tosh Brendan's Home Junior Malone. Paul 123. There's a load of them tonight. Tom Smith is there as well. CM Fox. Arlene Burley. And let's see who else we've got at the bottom. The Juice is lurking. Literally, there he is. The Juice. Dale Baker has jumped in as well, and I think that'll do for now. That's all of them.
Everyone wants to get their piece in when people have it's a big fight and there's controversy, but nobody wants to do the hard work and watch Showbox and wake up at 5 a.m. to watch fights from Japan, etc.
Did you watch an Aussie card, Matty, by any chance?
No, I didn't.
Casual.
I had no interest in that. Did you watch the show, the ProBox card from Wednesday?
I had it on, but I didn't actually pay full attention to it because I was actually doing some work at the time. I was dusting off some stuff. So,
dusting off a bit of stuff for Andy. Tell us about it now, then, as I give a shout out to Simon Sinclair, Matty. ProBox on Wednesday evening. Raul Garcia losing a split decision to Leonardo Ruiz, 2 undefeated fighters. Didn't manage to catch this one myself, unfortunately. What did I miss?
I kind of thought that that fight shouldn't have been a split decision. I thought that Ruiz definitely did enough to win clearly in that fight. So a little bit surprised of a split decision, but I guess inside there were kind of some tight moments in there. But there was a knockdown in that, I believe. Yeah, I think it was in the 5th round on that one. So that was, and it was, I tell you what, that Leonardo Ruiz, he could be an interesting fighter. This was they were both over the 154-pound limit, but he could be an interesting guy at the weight, Steve. He's a big guy, puts his shots together, goes to the body well. And with the referee that wasn't as heavy-handed with the low blows early, as one in this fight, he might have been able to show that more. That was Frank Santori, actually. So that was a good scrap there. Keep an eye on Leonardo Ruiz. That was a fun fight. Definitely one of the more entertaining fights of the week. Justin Paldo against Eduardo Estrella was a good fight. Enjoyed that one. Paldo definitely got the better of it for sure in that one. He's one to watch. He's only 1 defeat on his record. I can't remember who he had lost to, but he's a solid fighter. I'm enjoying ProBox because they are taking on some of these guys who have maybe had a defeat or 2 on their record, but they see something in them and they're not giving up on him. Paldo really puts together his punches pretty well, goes to the body. It has speed, covers up pretty well after he gets done with his work. I kind of worry that maybe somebody might punch with him and he can get into trouble, but we'll see moving forward on that one. And then there's also, speaking of 154 pounds, there's this big punching Johan Gonzalez. I think all of his wins have been by way of knockout, 2 losses on his ledger, but this guy's just, he's big, and he seems to hold his distance pretty well against when his opponent's up against the ropes. Lands big, hard shots. He was able to take out his opponent in this one. He wasn't matched too hard in this fight, but looking forward to maybe seeing some more of him because he definitely was going to have a puncher's chance in any fight, and he's a big boy. And who knows, maybe we could see Gonzalez against Leonardo Ruiz at a ProBox card down the road. And the next one will be in not this Wednesday, but the next.
ProBox coming your way. Matty's enjoying those. I'm enjoying the overtime boxing as well. OTX on a Friday evening. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. Dirtman's DMB playlist says, I watched the whole card last night in Poland. I've never seen so much strange refereeing during an event where you should have watched the Jared Anderson card, which Tosh is saying, have you discussed the Anderson card yet? We haven't. We're going on to it very shortly. Just before we do, a bit of housekeeping, tidy up a couple of cards. Australia in a minute with Andy. First of all, though, over in California, I'll just mention the results. I didn't actually see the fight itself yet. It hasn't dropped. Callum Walsh from Cork improved to 8-0. He's based in Hollywood under Freddie Roach, and he's promoted by Tom Loeffler. He got a 4th round retirement victory over Juan Jose Velasco. So good luck to him moving forward. Over in Australia on Wednesday, Andy, I didn't see the Liam Wilson fight. The only one I saw from this card, I think the same as you, was Nikita Siu against Jack Brubaker. A 6th round knockout win for Siu. He got knocked down himself. I think it was maybe in the 2nd round. Bad damage to the eye as well. He's going to be a fun fighter coming forward. Throws a lot of shots. He's going to be in trouble if he faces a puncher. He is a talented kid and he has got a lot of good support. Brubaker, too tough for his own good. A good old-fashioned Aussie Rumble, Andy, I thought. I watched it on Thursday morning.
Yeah, it was a good one. The one you're talking about, the knockdown, it was actually a clash of heads, and Zeus
Quite
went
right,
down,
yes.
and that's what's caused the big bad welt underneath the side of his right eye. But went to work right after it, mate, and just kind of put a beating, as you say, on Brubaker. You know, he should have been pulled at the end of the 5th, I felt. They sent him back out. He didn't last long, I don't think, much of the 6th. And just basically, he was just getting bludgeoned. And at the same time as the referee stepped in to stop it, the towel came in at the same time, mate. So, yeah, you're right. He's an interesting fighter. Strong as an ox, actually. Same weight division as his brother. But Southpaw, as you say, I think Tim's the same, actually. They don't have much upper body movement, much head movement. So that might be interesting as well if he kind of like meets the higher end fighters. But yeah, I definitely want to watch. I suppose the other one to mention on that card that I didn't see the fight was Liam Wilson get a 10-round decision. Pretty much a shutout, I think it was in that as well.
Yep, didn't catch that one myself. One entire card I caught actually was over in the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Matty, I'll just give my thoughts quickly on a few of the fights. Charlie Suarez getting a win over Johan Vasquez. Jalyalov blasting away the Godzilla Ewari army. That was pretty one-sided fair. Ablaykan Zhushapov looks like one to watch. He beat Winston Campos, who fought Josh Taylor a few years ago. Jeremiah Milton, the Dreamland, beat Craig Davis. Nico Ali Walsh fought against Sona Akale.
That must be the greatest.
Lost a majority decision there. Abdullah Mason got a win over Cesar Villarraga. Bruce Carrington got a win as well. As for the main 2 fights, though, Matty, a strange one between Ajagba and Kosabutsky. Kosabutsky just absolutely lost his head. In the weekend of low blows, he kept on hitting Ajagba low that much that Chris Flores got fed up in the end and just threw him out of the fight. And then the main event, Jared Anderson was throwing some really nice body shots against Andre Rudenko. I thought that he might get rid of Rudenko a little bit earlier. You thought it would go later. You were right. It went into the 5th round, and eventually referee Gary Ritter had seen enough. It was a couple of odd fights, I felt, those 2 heavyweight clashes.
Yeah, Rudenko's a tough son of a bitch, but and you got to give Anderson credit for really being the first guy to get him out of there. The one fight that's a stoppage on his ledger probably should have been a DQ, not a TKO or whatever the fuck it was on there. And I thought that Anderson looked improved from the fight against Charles Martin. Maybe not as good of an opponent, but he's obviously working on it. He talked openly and honestly. Yeah, I'm here getting a paycheck. Keep me active. Right on, man. Treat it like a job. Keep moving you up, and that's fine with me. And his body work was fantastic. The over/under was 4.5 rounds, so it barely snuck over that, Steve. They nailed that one. The bettors also moved the Usyk fight into the perfect position too. Watch those markets. But so yeah, we'll see what happens with Anderson next. Could be going in against Ajagba if his balls have healed. He was taking some pretty good low shots off of Kosabutsky there, but landing his own in there too, which I think is fair to mention. Maybe not quite even-handed by the referee there. But it was a very bizarre fight. And at the end, I just feel like Kosabutsky just couldn't give a shit about being there, and he was just done. So he hit Ajagba in the balls one more time, and he called it a day. So we'll see if the commission just might withhold his purse or anything like that. I don't know. I think it'd be perfectly reasonable to withhold, half of it or something like that for some bullshit.
He really didn't give a shit, did he? Like,
I was going to say, my tweet
Yeah.
that he really gave a fuck. He could not give any less of a fuck at that DQ, man, didn't he? He just did not give a fuck. He's like, well, fuck it. Even after like the fight's waiting to get announced, he's walking about like, all right, what's next? I don't know.
He's shrugging and all.
He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, very, very uninterested in the whole thing. So, I was kind of surprised. I thought he had a really good left hand, and didn't get a chance to show it other than testicle shots, so that was a shame. But anyhow, we'll see how that shakes out in the boxing prediction league. Didn't really help me there. Didn't help me that I didn't get my picks in on time for the Shiraz fight either. There, Steve. I know, shame on me. Shame on me.
Who were you going to go for the Ajagba fight in the prediction league?
No, I got that one in.
Oh, you got it. What did you go for?
I went Kasabutsky on.
Yeah, me too. I did as well.
Oops. I think the leaders did as well. So fucking no blood for us, I guess. But I ended up talking myself into Shiraz winning by stoppage too. I just saw the Ukrainian kind of leaning in, and Shiraz does have that good right hand for any liabilities that might be there. So, oops. As far as the top rank card goes, I thought that the best fight of the card might have been the Suarez versus Vasquez fight, Steve. I enjoyed that one. Vasquez was almost a 10-1 underdog. I didn't think that he deserved to be quite that wide. So I put a literal couple dollars on him. Didn't go that way, but he had his moments in there, and he landed some clean shots, made Suarez work for it all the way. Suarez definitely landed the cleaner shots down the stretch when he was willing to hold his feet. He landed some good hooks and uppercuts along the way. I thought there showed some good variety with his left hand when he turned southpaw. But I think I might have just been pulling for Vasquez because, Steve, I don't know if you noticed from his boxer, Suarez just has an absolutely punchable face. I don't know. There's something about it. Just very punchable kind of guy. So, it was, and then Jeremiah Milton, man, what the fuck is with this guy? Like, he has his moments, man, but he's about as good of a finisher as an angsty teenage girl with a razor blade. Jesus Christ.
Fuck's sake.
It's ridiculous, Steve. Just ridiculous. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I really have to say about that.
Okay, that's probably for the best, to be honest. Andy, what about you on the top rank card? I think Kasabutsky just fell to Jagba's power. He knew the referee was on his case, and he was just like, "Fuck this! I'm getting out of here, back to Germany or Kazakhstan or wherever he's based."
I mean, he's not going to get called back to any fucking anytime soon, man. He's just been classed as unreliable, not fit for purpose. I mean, yeah, okay. I think there was no like a bit of like a wrestling move in there or like a judo moves. A couple of low blows for a Jagba and that as well, but he just after the first one he just like totally melted. He just fucking didn't give a fuck. And then obviously that one as well. We're talking about, Hopkins used to do. He used to try and like say like low blow you or hit you around about the hip and that when he was in the blind side of the referee if he was up against the ropes. Fucking that's what happened to him last night as well with the last shot that kind of seen him getting DQ'd. It was just weird. And then Anderson, okay. Rudenko's probably had his day, but at best, at his prime, he was European level. He just beat him up, I think, and just once he started getting the combinations going and that, it was just a matter of how long it was going to take.
I think it was a keep active confidence builder after the Martin fight, wasn't it? Really?
Well, apparently they were saying in commentary that he admitted that he got kind of bored during the Martin fight. So if maybe needs to be a bit kind of a mentality switch on there, possibly. Seen the Jalilov fight. Remember, I was kind of like moaning about the Jalilov, like never really appearing on top rank shows, and he had signed pro contract, that type of thing. But obviously, it turned up during the week that he's been hit with legal papers or legal situations, so his fight got pulled off that card and got stuck on YouTube. Again, man, he's fighting trash.
He's opponent, man. He made Ebenezer Tete look like flipping Riddick Bowe, didn't he?
Mate, I don't think that dude has ever seen a boxing ring before, man. His foot movement was awful, absolutely horrendous on the legs in the guy.
It's a shiny record, that's for damn sure.
I think it's Jalov. Just 2 or 3 months ago, he won the world championships at the amateurs. He's still fucking mixed with the elite amateurs at this point, and he's fighting trash like that in his pro fight.
I want to see him fight Jeremiah Milton.
Well, I don't know about that, mate. I just don't know what's going to happen with this legal situation that he's kind of found himself in, because he says it's a pro career that's not really kind of delivered much so far, and he's 29 now, 13 fights. And I don't think the fights have went, many rounds, to be fair. I think he's went the distance, maybe, or he's went the distance at all, has he? Again, is this legal situation going to have him out, decent fights for a long enough time? Don't know, mate. It was a weird one. What else did I see? I think I've seen anything else in that card, to be fair. I didn't see Ali Walsh.
It was decent.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't think
he
lost that. I didn't think he lost that fight, to be honest. I thought maybe the draw was fair, but I thought the cards were kind of reversed from what they should have been. I kind of thought he did enough in that one, honestly.
Just quickly, Matty, on FA Jagba, Timothy Bradley mentioned midway through the fight, I know it didn't last very long, something about, Jagba needed this win or he needed this performance.
Midway through the fight, like
I know, yeah, exactly.
5 minutes into the fight.
Maybe it was at the end, I can't remember. At some point he said Jagba needed this win or this performance because his contract might have been on the line. If not, what are Top Rank going to do with him? Why did they sign him from the PBC in the first place? I mean, what did they see in him? Which direction are they going to take him in? They've signed Jalalov as well. They've signed Makhmudov. They've got Milton. They've got Stephen Shaw. They're signing up all these heavyweights. What's the end game with someone like a Jagba, do you think?
I think he's a really good gatekeeper at the end of the day.
A good B-side, kind of.
Yeah, who should and someone who can test a guy, see if they're ready for title quality. Whatever person that might be out of the top ranked stable, he might end up facing a couple of these young guns that they have going for him. But he's definitely going to be chosen as an opponent. But he's good enough to get a win against one of these guys, depending on the night too. It'll be interesting. Jagba's he's got that great punch, but he's just lacking something, Steve. I don't know what to say it is, but he did look better in the spots when he actually was working and they weren't low blowing last night. But there's just still something about him that keeps him from being that upper echelon kind of fighter. He's definitely a gatekeeper.
Yeah, Andy Chase making a good point there. FA size alone is a problem for most people.
Yeah, of course, if he can use the reach and that to his advantage and just kind of keep it like, it'd be ideal. Manny Stewart would be, if he was around, and that would probably make him, pretty unbeatable. Just considering with the reach, and if he could just throw that right hand decently behind it, that would be pretty decent. Just got to defend that chin. But one thing I've kind of interesting for like Tim Bradley's comments there last night was it made it sound like he was kind of like fighting for his top rank contract, basically. So that's the kind of language he was putting out there. So it was kind of like, he's got to impress, he's got to win. He won the fight, but it took a lot out of him at the same time. Getting drilled in the balls like that, man. You just don't know if there's any damage here as well.
Bob Arum really knows how to fuck with these guys, like Jog was fighting to keep his contract. Ray Beltran was fighting to stay in the country. It's fucking rough fighting under Arum, man.
It makes you earn it, baby. It's all about mentality, that championship mentality, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to the Bob Father. He's a survivor, much like ourselves. This is episode 537 of the Boxing Asylum NUTHOUSE podcast. Andy's here, Matty's here as well. We're going to have a look through our reviews shortly. Also have a little look at a couple of retirees over the week and look at the action next weekend, including Liam Smith against Chris Eubank Jr. Let's tidy up anything from this previous weekend. I'll go over the overtime boxing stuff very quickly. I know Matt Butters is sitting on the edge of his seat, desperate to hear about this. Shout out to Andreas Katsarakis, a Greek fighter based in America. Got a good 8th round TKO win over Rafael Igbokwe. Quite the entrance for Igbokwe. He had these people dressed up as characters flying about all over the place. It was great fun there. Shout out to Dante Lane making his debut with the first round knockout win over Nathan Mitchell. Looked pretty decent.
I thought they were going to sacrifice a goat during that entrance.
I had no idea what was going on, but it looked like fun. That's the main thing. It looked like fun. The main event was fun as well. 8-round decision, majority decision win for Vladimir Hernandez. He's a Mexican with the first name of Vladimir. He's quite the upsetter, is this fella. We've seen him beat Alfredo Angulo in the past, Julian Williams as well. He got knocked out by Jesus Ramos, but gave him 6 rounds of work. He pulled off another upset win, this one, against Lorenzo Simpson. 13-0, 7 knockouts coming in. Simpson was meant to be a bit of a blue chip prospect that a lot of people thought would go far in the sport, training under Calvin Ford alongside Javonta Tank Davis. Lorenzo truck Simpson, lost a majority decision to Vladimir Hernandez. I thought that a draw was probably fair, 76-76, like one of the cards, but the other 2 judges thought not. They gave it to Vladimir by scores of 78-74 and a very wide
out of an overtime round.
79-73. Matty, 1 round to poor old Lorenzo Simpson. He might as well have not have bothered. Did you bother?
I haven't had a chance to actually catch that one because I was arguing with the zone. because their stuff was running in slow time again. And thank you to the help folks there, who you're only able to get in contact with and find an icon for chat if you go to the cancellation page. If anybody is wondering how to, like, a way to get in touch with the zone, well, just go to the cancellation page, and then all of a sudden it becomes easier. So I reinstalled the app, and I was able to at least watch. What the hell did I watch at the end of? Oh, I watched the Collazo fight. So yeah, I will definitely get a chance to watch this, the last two fights. I caught the earlier ones in the card, Steve. But it's a surprise, and you got to give credit to Overtime. I mean, if the cards are going to be weird like that, and it's the underdog fighter coming in with the not glossy record, that's pretty uncommon. So I guess give it up for Overtime for keeping us on the edge of our seat.
You mentioned as well there, Matty, just briefly, the final show of the weekend that I was going to give a shout out to, DAZN. Overtime was DAZN on Friday night. They also went to Puerto Rico on the Saturday night. Oscar Collazo getting a 6th round win over Garen Diajan. Collazo, quite right. I think Diajan had enough in the end. They were trying to rub his legs, trying to get him back out there, but he didn't fancy it. And Andy's favourite on the undercard, Juan Carlos Camacho, slicing Jorge Orozco in half with a rib-busting body shot as well. So did you enjoy the Collazo performance most of all, Matty?
Yes, I didn't catch the rest of it, the card yet, but Collazo is really good, and he's still got time to develop. He's fighting at minimum weight. His Filipino opponent had some moments. He tried to keep Collazo off of him, but Collazo's very measured, picks his shots well, power out of both hands. Specifically, he's got a really good right hook. And it'll be interesting to see where this kid goes. I mean, you're thinking it's only 7 pounds up to 2 weight classes north, and how much talent is between there and 100, where he's at 105 up to 112. So it'll be interesting to see if this kid is the goods. I'm pretty stoked about him. I haven't looked forward to a minimum weight fighter in quite some time. I don't know if he's going to measure up to what Ioka and Gonzalez obviously became after they started out at minimum weight. But I think Collazo definitely has a pretty high ceiling. I'm excited about this kid.
How high is the ceiling, Andy? And how high would the ceiling need to be for poor Orozco to manage to get onto that aeroplane after having his body smashed into him?
Oh, poor bastard, mate. I mean, he was rolling a bit after the first one, and then see, like the one that finally finished the fight. He actually took 3 rapid left hooks to the body, and honestly, I'm not kidding. He's basically lying there. The only thing that could move was his right leg from the knee down. And he's kicking it into the floor. He's in absolute agony. He's lying on the floor for at least 5 minutes. I'm not. Hey, Steve, you saw it. I'm not even exaggerating here. And then he got lifted up to the stool. He's kind of like, leaning over a bit, trying to kind of stretch out the rib in that. It's clear. It must be a clear broken rib there because.
And for context, he'd never been stopped before, and he's trained out of Canelo's gym his whole life under Checo Reynoso. This guy, so he was no pussy, like.
Yeah, but you can see him literally trying to get the glove off. He's in pain. They're unwrapping it. He's trying to lift up his hand. He's in absolute agony. Absolute agony. It was brutal. Absolute ending. How he got dealt with in that fight. And that would be interesting. But as for his ceiling, I think at 26, I don't know how far he's going to go. I think maybe like flyweight possibly. I don't think he'll jump up the weights as much as what Gonzalez does. Again, I'm doing the longevity and how long he fights. And I mean, he is quite an aggressive fighter. And I think if he meets somebody who can take his power and land back on him, it'll be interesting because we've seen him. He's only had 7-8 fights. It'll be interesting to see what happens if he does start taking some shots and how he responds to it, because he's pretty much had it all his own way at this point, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it says that Juan Carlos Camacho is one to watch as well, because absolute beast, and the ending of that Orozco was just emphatic.
Was an emphatic ending. Talking of emphatic endings as well, Andy, we'll stick with you. A couple of retirements this weekend. We'll go for the pocket rocket himself, last sensation. Kiko Martinez ended with 58 bouts, 44 wins, 12 losses, 5 by stoppage, couple of draws as well, 31 big KOs. He was a diminutive puncher, he looked 37 years of age from the time he made his debut, I think. He had a lot of joy on UK and Irish shores, fighting the likes of Frampton a couple of times, Scott Quigg, Bernard Dunn was probably his big breakout one, Jason Booth as well, Rendell Munro. who's who of boxing. He became a speed dial option for Eddie towards the end, going in against the likes of Warrington, Galahad, Jordan Gill, Zelfa Barrett. Always a man for an upset, and he always brought the heat each and every time. Even towards the end, Andy, I thought he was close to retirement. He'd come back with a big knockout, right, pitching till the last in Japan when he lost to Abe. Really great career and a familiar fighter for us on these shows.
Yeah, he was always value for money, mate. Always was. You know, it's crazy to think about 2007 is when he beat Bernard Dunn. He had hair, I believe, in that fight. Knocked him out in the first round with the European Super Bantamweight title. And yeah, and it's looking straight now. He fought Wyndham Monroe twice. Takalani and Love fought him in South Africa. You know, I've not seen the fight, if I can recall, so you don't know how close the fight was. It was quite close in the cards there, but looks at it. Beat Ireland, beat Arsan Matarosian, beat back to
was
Spain.
that fight? That was on the undercard of Brian McGee fight, yeah?
Right, so he's kind of rematched him in France, so he's been all over the shop. He's then fought Carol Frampton, defended the European title, got stopped. An interesting fight as well. Then fought Jeffrey Matabula, who's, everybody can remember that guy, big, long, rangy.
Fought Donaire.
Yep. By this point, he's actually a world champion. He's fought Romero, he's fought Matabula, he's fought Hasagawa, he's in the defending against Frampton and went the distance. Trying to remember the Scott Quigg fight again. I know he got stopped in 2 rounds.
Quigg battered him the same night Frampton beat, but struggled against Alejandro Gonzalez. And then the sort of Frampton-Quigg fight was cemented on the back of that, wasn't it? Quigg annihilated him minutes before, I think, Frampton fought Gonzalez, or minutes after, something like that.
And we're all kind of thinking by that point he's done, and then Santa Cruz has had his way with him in 5 rounds, and then he comes back and he gives Warrington a hard fight. And obviously again he's come back. He's had another go at Antoine Russell. He's become European champion again, and then he's then fought Galahad, Warrington again, Zelfa Barrett, got Jordan Gill and that. So he's been up through other ranks, mate. He's even had another go at the European title at featherweight. You know,
wasn't Galahad for a world title?
IBF champion as well, 2 weight division world champion. So fair play, good career, always value for money, mate.
Gave Josh Warrington a tough fight, didn't he, in the first fight? Do you remember when Warrington was still with Frank Warren, I think?
Yep. And I think after the second fight, actually, at this point, you're saying, like, it's done now, he's taking me go. By that point, he was actually a world champion then, wasn't he? But
didn't he still break Warrington's jaw in the second fight?
It was a Galahad fight. It was a Galahad knockout. You think to yourself, this guy is going to go on forever, man, because the way he ended that fight, there was no debate. You know, it was just iced. And I think he'd been cut in that fight as well. Actually, so
Warrington battered the head with him the head, didn't he, in the rematch after the Galahad fight?
He was cut over both eyes, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You're right, Matt. He got a broken jaw, Warrington, in that rematch as well, mate.
And also, Matty, just as you come in there, one fight that didn't happen, which people might not remember, he knocked Bernard Dunn out in 2007 in the August, and in 2007 in December, he was actually supposed to come back to Belfast to fight Wayne McCulloch. Pat McGee put the fight on, and it was going to be in the King's Hall at the beginning of December, and it got to the point of the weigh-in. They both weighed in. McCulloch came in very light, and Martinez missed the weight, and the fight got cancelled. And then Cheryl ended up with a push and shove with the late Jack McGowan from the Belfast Telegraph, and there was a few words exchanged, and it got cancelled after the weigh-in, the whole show, but McCulloch was supposed to fight Kiko Martinez. So what about yourself, your memories, Matty?
I think Andy basically went through all of them at that point in time. I enjoyed watching him, like, you know, and trying to think of like anything specific, but like even going back to getting streams of the Box Nation days, you know, like 2010, 2013-ish, like that. He was always just good bang for your buck. Someone that always gave it a good go. And you're shocked that his career went this long because he's always been this bald. He's only in like 37 right now at this point in time, but he's looked the same age for the last fucking 15 years. And Kiko really had himself an exceptional career after Sergio Martinez was able to get a hold of him and give him some direction. So, good on him right off into the sunset. You got to think he's got to be in one of the best Spanish fighters of all time, if not the best. I mean, they're not like, swinging big dicks when it comes to their boxing records over there. He might be the best Spanish fighter of all time.
I think he is, Matty.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you talk about something to hang your hat on, being the best ever from your country. Hell yeah. Go on, Kiko.
And the funny thing about Kiko was as well, he was managed. I mentioned Pat McGee earlier. Pat had him signed contractually for a few years, and Kiko would have turned up on random shows. Like I think he fought on a Tommy Egan show in Dublin, and then he fought a guy called Dougie Curran from Scotland in the Devonish, which is called the Emerald Roadhouse, which is like a little small hall show in Belfast. He used to turn up on these random shows, and he looked terrible. I think he only beat Curran by 2 points or something. He always underperformed in those lower level 6-rounders, and then he would come back in the main fights, and that's where he saved all of his best moments for, which I suppose is the way to do it. But yeah, he would have turned up on low-key Irish shows north and south of the border as well, so got to see a lot of Kiko over the years and interviewed him, and he was always a really nice, genial character, even though he didn't speak a word of English. So fair play to him. Saw a lot of Kiko over that time. Speaking of retirements as well, there was another big retirement this week, Andy. We believe, I hope it's not, all I'm going to say is I hope he hasn't made a rash decision here and done it too soon. Kiko at 37 is a relative spring chicken compared to a man of 66 fights, Firat Arslan, 54-9-3, has hung up the gloves, we believe, at the ripe old age of 52, Andy. I hope he doesn't live to regret this decision.
Oh, mate, what a career it's been, mate. Always value as well, even though it might be on the kind of C-level scene, but there was a time and place around about the early 2000s, 2005, 6, I think it was, went through Gregor Drojd, who was like undefeated, Valery Brudov when he was at his prime before Bellew got the leftovers, Virgil Hill, who was like, I think he was yoked on some sort of PED, beat all three of them, beat the Dingaling Man as well, and then went into, I remember this fight actually, Steve, it's maybe one we need to discuss on Punches for the Past at one point, but the Guillermo Jones fight in Germany,
I remember that was, really, yeah.
Oh man, Arslan came out and he's laying the heat on that Latino ass, isn't he? And then Jones just starts you'd imagine Jones is cooked to the gills and that as well, right? So yes. he just starts like, you know, with the crisp shots, and eventually he just starts cutting Arslan to ribbons and that, man. Literally doing a number on him, literally beating the shit out of him. It was, you know, toughness personified, and the referee just steps in and stops the fight. But it was a brutal beatdown. So Big Arslan was, I think he even fought, who was it? Did you know fight Marco Hook? Pushed him a distance and that.
Yeah. Twice, 3 times, I think.
The first fight was quite a hard one for Hook and that, because I think Hook by that point had already been up to heavyweight, possibly, then come back down.
Yes, you're right. Yes, it was a tough fight.
Yeah. That was a good time for fighting in cruiserweight right there. That Huck fight against
Box Nation days and that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have watched it all. The Johan Pablo Hernandez fight in 2014 was the one that stuck out for me, Andy. Because Pablo Hernandez, nice fast hands, really skilled Cuban, punched heavy. But if you got him past the 5 or 6 rounds, he had the sort of Cuban mentality at the time that you could get on top of him. And I think Arslan had a lot of success. That was a really good fight.
I might need to go back and watch it when I remember it being close.
He was in his like mid-40s at that
exactly,
point.
Yeah, he was about 43 by then.
Lay it on.
And he's come back. He's beat like Nuri Seferi, and again, not a great name, but was that not the one that Fury had fought? Have I got that one wrong?
I think it was Sefa Seferi's brother.
Right. Well, he's fought him as well. Fought him at a draw. That was 2018. He's got knocked off Kevin Lorena, who almost knocked out Dubois. And
he's been like at the cruiserweight limit this whole time, just making 200 pounds,
Yeah, and also as well as, I mean, he's I don't know what region of Germany he's based in, but he's actually he's got an arena named after him. For
Stuttgart, Andy. That's where it is. Yeah.
He's got a wee arena, and he's got his own boxing gym in that as well. So he's mad into his sport and that, like. But he done no bad with his career in that as well. If he's got his own gym and he's got things named after him, that type of thing. So he must be some sort of kind of hero to some, at least, you know. But he was good value as well at times.
Yeah, he definitely was. Andy mentioned the Lorena fight. That was the last time he lost 3 years ago. Since then, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive knockout wins. A lot of them in the Firat Arslan Sports Center in Göppingen, which is in Stuttgart, I believe. So he's done well for himself.
Yeah, just knocking over just random European chumps here and there, you know, doing his thing. There's nothing wrong with it. And he fought at a really high level. I mean, until his mid-late 40s. And I don't think he gets gets enough credit for just being kind of one of the Iron Men of boxing. It's tremendous to see people who can compete at that level at such an advanced age. You know, I mean, we talk about how incredible it was what Hopkins was doing, but you know, 48-year-old, 49-year-old, he wasn't beating great fighters, Steve. You know, he was beating like Shumanov and shit like that. So, you know, I look at it, you know, like Arslan, a couple levels below that maybe on what his competition was, but what he was doing at the age of 50, absolutely incredible. And I hope he finds a lot of joy in his life after boxing, and all of his faculties are intact, because never hear he's not one of those guys I've heard controversial things about. Don't think I've heard about him beating his wife or anything like that. So cool, dude, seems like a good dude.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so. I think as well, Matty, just closing on that final point you made there, not about beating the wife, allegedly, but it's okay. A lot of boxers, because it's the red light district of sports, as Andy said, and with licenses and stuff, a lot of fighters can keep going for as long as they want, pretty much, without anybody stopping them. But the outliers are the fighters, Matty, that are fighting and carrying on to a really, really good level, like Arslan. I mean, he wasn't at the top level, but he was still pushing, as you said, Hook. That was 43 then. That was 9 years ago when he was pushing Hook and Hernandez close. So it's the outliers of the guys who are still fighting at that top level or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think you just got to kind of judge them based on their performance at that point in time, and he was performing at a high enough level to still have the respect of anybody in the local commissions and such. And if you look through his record too, Steve, I mean, he's got a number of losses that are, by split and majority decision as well. So I even as he got older and some of those L's started to pile up, some were a little bit debatable in there too. So. Yeah, it's Arslan. Honestly, that era of cruiserweights, kind of like that. I don't know, probably say 2005 through 2010. That was a really fun time for cruiserweights in the sport. Lebedev was fighting in there. Guillermo Jones, as Andy mentioned, he always calls him Glencoff Jones for some reason. I don't know. Probably because Glencoff Johnson, to be fair, buddy. But yeah, there's just that was. Steve Cunningham was fighting at that time. You mentioned
Christoph
Pablo
Ladarchik.
Hernandez. Yeah, he was an interesting fighter. He had a good punch as well. And then Thomas Adamic that was fighting during that time at cruiserweight too. No, he skipped cruiserweight, didn't he? He went light heavyweight all the way to he did.
No, he fought at cruiserweight. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of good stuff going on there, and they even kind of the tail end of it. You had some of the decent African fighters who came in there, like Tabiso Mchunu. He came out of nowhere, beating Eddie Chambers on I think that was on a Thomas Adamic card in New Jersey.
Wayne Braithwaite was a good puncher from Guyana as well.
There you go. It was that's a good time, and Arslan was fighting right with a number of those guys, and there was oftentimes great fight of the year candidates in that time too. So yeah, if you haven't had a chance, go to check out cruiserweights 2005 to 2015 ish. It was a good time for the sport.
It was. Talking of good times for the sport, there used to be a lot more boxing podcasts, quality boxing podcasts knocking about. Tony Yeo said, what happened to chemo and the Boxing Coalition? Shout out to the Boxing Coalition. It was essential listening every week. I think in the end, they just fell apart. I think they joined together from being listeners of the Boxing Voice. Cam was the name of the host. He was a good guy. I've interviewed him on the Patreon about 5-6 years ago. And chemo was on as well. MV Chu from Scotland, Ari Gold Boss, Kevin Horn. Yeah, it was really good listening at one point. Was Daniel Lim as well, was very funny, came out with a few good one-liners. Shout out to Cam. I don't know what he's doing now. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but the Boxing Coalition was a really, really good listen. Yeah, Leon and Chu always made me laugh. Yeah, Leon, that's right. Leon, can't remember his surname now. He came on with us a couple of times as well. He was on there too. So yeah, shout out to the Boxing Coalition. Very, very good podcast at its peak. They're talking a good podcast at their peak. Maybe we're at our peak. Maybe we're on the decline. Who knows? On the wrong side of 40 in many of our cases anyway. I mentioned earlier, we've had a few reviews from around the world. Let's have a look at what the people are saying about the podcast. Close your eyes or ears now.
Yeah.
So we had a year ago, we had a 2-star review. So it's not too bad from Tua Vale. I don't know if that's anything to do with David Tua over in the United States. He says a tagline, hard to understand. He says their intro is hilarious. Can be a good show, but one of those UK guys is impossible to understand, and another is close to that. Please stop talking gibberish and enunciate better. So I don't know who he's talking about. Ozzy must be talking about Ozzy. Oh, shout out to
Absolute disgrace.
Absolute disgrace, exactly. This is a disgrace as well from D. Van Wade. He went all the way. No messing about. He went straight in, balls deep with a 1-star review. He says, armchair experts. He says, how long have I listened to this podcast? A long time. What do I think about their views? They hate everyone. Are they a walking contradiction? Absolutely. How many results do they correctly predict? Not a lot. Cheeky bastards, Matty. Winner of the prediction league here. Basically, listen to this podcast if you have nothing better to do for a couple of hours a week. They hate everyone with even the smallest bit of success and do the embarrassing thing of painting a narrative with half-truths. If you want a podcast of people being overly negative about everything, except Tyson Fury, who they are disgustingly attracted to using third-grade hyperbole, even while we're experiencing a golden generation of boxing, then this is your podcast. I'm afraid this was my last episode, lads. Change the attitudes or lose more people. We want positive discussion and not boring hating. There we are. We're just going to have 7,000 subscribers, Matty, so I think people are disagreeing with old D Van Wade there.
Oh, yeah. Well, after him, 6,999, but, you know.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, there's a few more for you. A Sunday night must, we mentioned before, again, to Matt Butters, that we are a fan with the ladies. And this is from Lady Victoria A. She gave us 5 stars. She says, myself and my husband listen to the podcast every Sunday night. A comical, in-depth and bloodthirsty review of all the past week's boxing news and events. So there we go. Lady Victoria is a fan. What else we got here? 00_OX_OX said, entertaining...
So we have 3 female listeners then, Steve?
Yeah, must have. I don't know what happened to... who was it in the past? Was it Emily X? Do you remember Emily X used to turn up and we weren't sure whether it was a...
Maybe she still listens and just doesn't chat anymore. Like, that's always possible.
I think so. Yeah.
You just don't know, eh?
No, don't know. Because a lot of people, Andy, we mentioned in the past, whatever happened to such and such, and then they message and say, I'm still listening. Just don't comment anymore. So they're still out there. Anyway, entertaining amateur chat. These guys really know what they're talking about, and they spend ages analysing every aspect of the fights from the previous night. It's the kind of analysis you don't hear anywhere else, and they have none of the biases that most boxing journalists do. So that's really a refreshing change. Here comes the but. It's complete amateur hour, though. The sound quality is all over the place, and they're well up for letting some moron come on, and their idea of humour is something like, I hope Adrian Broner gets AIDS before his next fight. If you can put up with that kind of thing, it's a good listen.
See, that's for like 6 years ago, so that must be when I was my prime
Yes.
That'd be right. When did Broner fight Mike Dana? About 6 years ago, eh?
Was it 2014, 2014, wasn't it?
It's like 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Oh, dear. Yeah, Mr. Dermer says it was more negative when Alex used to come on. Exactly. Yeah, some of these are from a few years ago, but we thought we'd put him on anyway. This one is, he's a racist piece of shit. He is on Twitter as @Donnie_Asylum Pod, and he's making anti-Mexican comments daily to insult Hispanics. He uses Triple G memes as a way to do so. The guy deserves no listeners to this show. I'd recommend iTunes revoke this podcast. That's 1 star from Zapatista49.
He's a communist too. That's great.
Oh man, he's absolutely raging, is that fella? And we have another one here. I thought we had a number 7, but it seems to have disappeared. Cheesy UK commentating. So this is quite an old one here. He says, these island monkeys spend their whole time criticising American and Mexican fighters and fans while they talk up Khan, Burns, Froch, and their retired, overrated Hatton. Lames! ! Take Lames, maybe.
A decade ago, man. That must have been right back at the start.
That was an old one there. So
that is an old one, but that's crazy though to think that this weekend coming up that Ricky Burns is fighting Willie Lemon.
Oh, I know. You're gonna be watching it, Matty.
Is there a way to watch it? Do you have to be at the arena?
Oh well, you might have to. BBC Scotland. Somebody was saying. Oh, I thought we had another one, but I can't find it as well. One of them from Australia. Let me see if I can find it now. We had an Australian or a New Zealand one coming in. Andy will like this one. I don't think it's referring. Here we are. So 5 stars from Zemus Q Pontal Jr. from Australia. He says, yeah, the Scottish fellow needs to come out the closet. He seems to be overcompensating.
Is that me or Tommy he's talking about?
I don't know. Oh, dear. There
5 years ago.
So,
yeah, still up in the air.
Still up in the air. Yeah, I'll try and pull some more out if I can. Remember, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. If you want to leave a fun comment, do so. Do so, Matty, do so.
Well, Andy, in your defense, I will say that only one of you has been spending time in Southeast Asia.
Less said about that, the better, I think. Let's move on to the action for next weekend. Before we go on to Belly of the Week, hopefully Rap and Rob Kelly will reappear at some point. Matty mentioned it there, Andy. We might as well touch upon it as briefly as we possibly can. Next Friday evening in the Braehead Arena, Scotland, Willie Lemond against Ricky Burns, party like it's 2006. These two boys are going in against each other. What's the word here, Andy? Why on earth are they doing this? Do you know?
I don't know, mate. I mean,
are you going?
I actually smothered about it. I was thinking about it about 2 weeks ago. I'm like, nah, I'm not bothered. I don't think, because the Braehead Arena is a nightmare to get to. There's no public transport to it that I can recall. I can't get a train to it, so I can't have a beer. So I need to drive, and I can't be arsed going through it. Glasgow's the worst place. The situation for me is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I wouldn't be watching that fight sober either.
I don't know. I didn't even know if anybody's picked it up for TV or YouTube or whatever. But I don't know, mate. I mean, what do you say? I mean, when was Ricky's last fight? Just pulled it up here now. 2021.
He's like 45 years old. I'd be more curious when his last fight was.
Willie Lemon fought last year, last May.
Oh, Jesus.
And then it was 3 years before that against that William Warburton, who was always like your classic 6-8 round journeyman who would always take you rounds. But
do you remember Willie Lemond, Andy? The first time I became aware of him was when he fought Alex Arthur. Do you remember? They were both unbeaten. Yeah. Big Scottish clash. Willie Lemond's manager put like 10 grand on him winning the fight. I think it went into about eight rounds. Lemond did okay, but Alex Arthur was the star. He was the man on the way up, and he ended up stopping. And that was a good Friday fight night on Sky. That was.
Yeah, Arthur was the British champion, I'm sure, at that time, and he come back. He beat Kevin O'Hara, I think it was, in that as well. He got the Celtic title. I'm sure it was, and then he gave Amir Khan, I mean, a nightmare actually. At one point, he dropped Khan, and then Khan got up. I remember him taking a knee again. And I was like, oof, that looks a bit dodgy. And then the thing cut to a break a couple of rounds later, and then the fight was off. And then apparently Khan had burst his eardrum. Apparently, Khan had burst Lemon's eardrum, but. One way or another, I don't know how it happened, but anyway, for the next few years, he's fighting on Paisley leisure centres, the Thistle Hotel, fighting, journeymen and domestic fighters, and then he gets a call to go and fight Eric Morales in Mexico, of all places, and that actually.
That's right, he did. And Eric Morales.
It was fighting at altitude, lasted 6 rounds. I think he got done in a body shot, I think it was. But anyway, Morales was so impressed by how Lemon challenged the fight. Morales actually brought him back in for sparring. I think it was for one of the Maidana fights, possibly.
Didn't Willie Lemon fight Bichelt at some point? Or did I imagine
he fought Crawler. I was at the Crawler fight when he was British champion, actually. He got beat off Crawler. Or no, was Crawler the champion, I'm sure, the British champion. Anyway, that was in Motherwell, I'm sure, that night. And he'd come back and he beat Curtis Woodhouse for the British title. It was a very, very close fight in the Commonwealth title and that as well. So Willie's always been like running about the domestic level fighter and that. I think he even got the WBO or WBU belt or what it was back in the day. But he was a decent enough domestic fighter. Ricky, we've discussed Ricky in the past and that. But I just think it's two guys, mate, who've decided to make a bit of money together. They've come together. They've said, look, you fancy, I don't know what it is, a 10, 12 rounder. I mean, it's $1, I think, on box rigs. So I think we know what we're going to be getting, to be fair. And that.
They're not completely gone, though, are they? That you're kind of worried about them. I don't think I haven't seen them recently, to be honest.
I've not seen Lemon for donks, to be fair, mate. I forget what age he is. I mean, he must be late 30s, early 40s now. I think he's
They're not massive punchers, are they, the two of them?
No, definitely no. So, and Ricky's hasn't really taken a lot of punishment. And both the guys are roughly around about the same weight in terms of size. Now, Lemon was a career super featherweight, lightweight. Ricky's been the same. So, I don't think it'll be a great fight. I think it'll be like one of these 12-round decision type fights.
In fact, it's 12 rounds.
Which probably Ricky wins, possibly, I would think. But again, I'm basing it on absolute none because the guys have got no skin in the game anymore. You know what I'm saying? They don't need to be doing this at this point. I mean, Ricky's, again, depending on how much money they're getting for it at the end of the day. I mean, I looked at the tickets for it. As I said, I was thinking about going. I looked at the ringside. All the ringside tickets are just about gone. So Braehead holds about 5,500, 6,000 possibly with the floor because it's a nice hockey arena, So, yeah. So if they sell that out, they've done pretty well. To be fair.
Kaiser Kobe says winner fights Terry Flanagan. Yeah, it wasn't Bichelt against Lemond. It was George Jupp. Andy, go ahead.
Interesting to bring up Terry Flanagan there, Kaiser Kobe, because I've seen John Evans tweeted out a picture there. Man City won the day apparently against Burnley. I think Haaland scored one of the goals. Guess who the fan was that jumped on Haaland's back? Turbo Flanagan.
Really?
It was.
No way.
I swear to God, it was Terry Flanagan jumping on Haaland's back celebrating that goal.
I wouldn't want to be a security guard trying to pull him off.
Said we sniffed to say the same thing.
Flip me, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Terry Turbo shouting, jumping at the back of Haaland, man, ready to fucking mount him.
Cedric Sniff agrees. No way, didn't know that. Matty, I don't know anything about the financial situations of Ricky Burns and Willie Limond, but I say these are two guys who are maybe struggling to let it go. They want to keep themselves motivated, in shape. It's an easy win for the two of them to sort of go out in Scotland in front of people, get the buzz back. It feels like that like that kind of a fight than we're both desperate for cash kind of fight.
Yeah, it just kind of seems one of those things like, hey, we'll just do it because we can. I mean, it's at welterweight. Neither one of them's gonna have to bust their ass to make the weight, I don't think. So I mean, if they're both got their faculties, and I mean, they're not going at this with world title aspirations later on. Fair, go on. I'm not here to stop them from making money.
Absolutely. I'm finding the Terry Flanagan here. It's all the Web P things, but I'm just seeing it now. Andy is as well, man. He must be absolutely steaming, isn't he?
Stick it up there, mate. I mean,
I'm trying to get a copy. I can't save any of them. Like, let me see if I can get one here.
It's fucking brilliant. It's a close up one. You're like, you've got to kind of zoom in a wee bit. Like, that's definitely Terry Flanagan, man. You can tell by the chin.
He wasn't a bad fighter back in the day, Flanagan. Remember he beat Matty's pal Nate Campbell.
Aye, was it him? He was fighting. Was him that fought Zepeda, and he
hurt
the arm.
Dislocated his shoulder at the time.
That was stupid.
He fought Maurice Hooker, didn't he, in the end, and lost the title to him.
He was in the World Series of the World Boxing Super Series, was he not?
I don't know if he was, to be honest with you. I'm not sure, but he was on the pitch.
Sure
there he is. He's steaming, isn't he? No way. The security guard.
What the fuck happened that made him so angry?
He jumped on the pitch.
All right.
People do that. You're in more trouble in the world of soccer, Matty, when you win the match and people are happy than when they lose.
That steward doesn't keep his messing with though. Like.
Exactly, yeah.
That steward doesn't know how close he was to getting iced.
Looks like he's packed on a few pounds.
Yeah, I think he has. Shout out to Terry. Might be coming back soon. Done well for himself. Where were we? Oh, yeah, we were talking about Willie Limond. We'll forget about that then.
Where were we? We were in 2007.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it. I got Lyndon Arthur and Chris Eubank Jr. for next week. But before we do that, we had a question from Andrew Neal. He said, now, hate is a very strong word. We're lovers, not haters on the Asylum. He says, which boxer have you hated the most, past or present? Throw this out in the chat while the boys have a think. Which boxer have you hated, absolutely detested the most, either present boxer or in the past? Throw your names out in the chat while you're at it from Andrew Neal. Matty, I wouldn't say you were much of a hater, but has anyone really got your goat? Anyone piss you off?
I was always super annoyed with how Jesse Vargas kept getting opportunities in the right end of decisions when you couldn't figure for the life of you why anybody would protect or promote Jesse Vargas. And then he made a shit ton of money off of his DAZN deal too. He's just, nobody got paid more off of fucking what they actually had to offer than Jesse Vargas. It was incredibly dumb.
Jesse Vargas getting a shout out. The chat have responded to this one before we go to Andy. Mark Stanton says Conor Benn. I can't quite think why. I'll tell you why, says Mayweather. He wasn't a Floyd fan. Number one says Vlad. Albert Ross says Mitchell Smith. Johnny Horsecock Nelson says Anthony Fowler. What about you, Andy? Is it the obvious?
That's the obvious one as well, mate. But I've wanted to say for a good mention, Jamie Cox.
Yes.
I forget what fight it was. It was some sort of ballroom. Talk about low blows, man.
Yes, against Saki or Sai or something.
Some African fighter. Man, he must have landed about 6 low blows that night. I didn't see Frank Warren complaining about it that night. That was one of Frank Warren's fighters.
Good point.
Anthony Fowler. When he got stopped, when he got beat off Fitzgerald, man, that was one of the most satisfying nights, man. I'm telling you right now.
Was that the night they threw the stool at Spike's head? And it just missed him.
I'm not sure. Oh, hey, that was epic, man. That was it. See if it had landed, man. Your man was getting out of top rope there, man.
It just flew past his like a frisbee at the last minute.
Oh, man. It was a ball hair away for hitting him. Like, Pastor, Bruno, without question, always thingies, mate. I always had a kind of funny detest for Sugar Ray Leonard for some reason, mate. It's just like, he's kind of pattern that. It hasn't really kind of like when you like listen to him like years later. That I kind of say to myself, yeah, I was right not to like him the first time when I got that impression. You know, he was just so beige, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So him. Who else? I didn't despise Ray. I just didn't like him. what others did I despise, man? There was a heavyweight I didn't like as well. Who the fuck was it?
AP says Jane Coach there, Andy. What are you thinking? Will you Stan says Bellew and Fat Paul of the Smith brothers. Bellew getting a shout out. Steffi Bull, Paul Smith, Derek Chisora, AJ, Floyd, Froch, Fowler, Fat Paul Smith, Dave Allen. Mickey Ward says CHRK.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird one too.
Roger Field, White Rhino, Lawrence Okoli says number 1.
Isaac Chamberlain.
Isaac Chamberlain. Oh dear. I agree, Andy, about Sugar Ray, says Arlene Burley.
Aye, kind of like set the standard for like some Mayweather and that to come in, that type of thing, demand this, demand that. This is good enough if you can get it, mind you, but I mean the way the whole Hagler negotiation, man, just gets right up my navel, like right up my nose. Sorry, got navel in the mind tonight, man.
Low blow.
Right up my nose, man. So aye.
Spencer Fearon getting a shout out there. How could you hate Spencer? He's a harmless character.
Felix Verdejo.
Nikolai Valuev says Albert Ross. John Fury. Oh, John Fury, yes.
Aye.
I can get on board with that one. He does made it. I'm a fighting man. Get me top off. Count how you die. Joe Burns. He doesn't hate anybody. He's throwing in fiver. Finally, super chats come in. Usyk now for doing a Bruno Fernandez and milking it. Should have been KO'd. The gloat. Says Joe Burns.
Raging. Oh,
for the cost of a cup of coffee, I know that he wanted to get that in.
I'll tell you who I kind of like came to hate, actually. David Hay. See, after he phoned that in fucking Germany, man, I paid all that money to go there and watch it and get pissed. Get soaked.
That's right. You went there to
pissing
see him
rain.
fucking for his toe.
And he's pissing rain, and then they come back and say, "Oh, I hurt my toe," and I got trod on, and it was a walk to the ring, and they put all this shit on, and I'm like, "Fuck, dude." And then, what fight was it? I mean, it was like one of those trips, man, you were dreading because you kind of like got the impression he's going to pull out. And then obviously the Fury situation pulled out twice of that, and then you just knew as well when the whispers came out against before one of the Bellew fights about his Achilles or like it was. You think to yourself, yeah, it's true. And then you see them coming out, you're like, he's fucked. You know what I'm saying? So he took us off for a ride as well, David Hay.
Cuban Cassius getting a shout out there. Broner, Steffi Ball. Usyk says AP for gaslighting the world and making my bills go through the fucking roof.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There can be shithouses. We love the likes of Lomachenko and Usyk and all that. There can be shithouses. You remember Lomachenko with Richard Comey that time when he was like calling over for him to get stopped and all? They've got an edge about them, which you have to have at this level, I suppose.
Yeah, you got to, man. I mean, that was a big Duran fan who used to fucking punch folk in the bollocks, low blows, that type of thing. But the thing is, it's the fact is, you get away with it fine, but you got the killer instinct. And if, that's one thing Dubois didn't have last night, didn't have the killer instinct, does he? Didn't he go for it? Yeah. Whereas if that was Duran would have been raw air him.
Oh, Duran
all over him.
He'd have been on him before he even got up off the ground.
Fuck me, just spat on the top there, man. They made sure. Of it.
Conor McGregor getting a shout there. Hands of Foam. Rapping Rob Kelly's back with us. Rob, Andrew Neal says, which boxer have you hated the most, either past or present? Any hatred there?
Yeah, don't think I have it. I don't really think I hate any fighter, really. I didn't like Calzaghe, but that really fucking was more to do with that story about him in the paper where the missus said he was kissing his muscles in the mirror. I was like, fuck this guy. And I felt like his undefeated career was a bit overhyped, but that's another fucking story. But I didn't hate him. Like, I think he's a fucking great fighter. Just some fighters' personas rub you up the wrong way. But I don't fucking know any of them. Like, I mean, I used to think Froch was a bit of a prick, but then when you realise like that he's fucking in on the joke, it's I don't know. I don't really hate fighters. Like, saying that now, I'm going to think of one that I absolutely fucking can't stand, and it'll come to me in a minute.
Bruno, Maidana.
No, like see, in the moment you get caught up with it. Like in the end, AB's kind of like come full circle. Like, and I actually had one for the Bellew. I don't know if it made it to last week's one, but I'd save it for. Are we in Bellew the week 30 or no?
No.
I've got a good one for Broner where he absolutely played a blinder. But I don't really hate too many fighters. Like, to be honest with you.
Hate is such a strong word. Kaiser
Take
Cobra
your
says,
fucking hippie bullshit elsewhere.
Despite my massive respect, I will never be a Canelo fan.
Co-presenters there, on the other hand.
That's more like it.
Yeah, Canelo getting slammed there. Nazim Hamid says number one. Not a fighter, but Angel Garcia, says Cedric Sniff. Yep. I suppose.
Oh,
so.
Danny Garcia was one by the way. I remember he came out with a comment saying it says, I want to be remembered as one of the old school fighters. Fuck me, man.
I hate his dad more than I hate Danny.
Talking about dad's Lopez Senior. What an absolute
Just take that
fucking what an absolute ninja man that is, by the way.
I'd like to dedicate this portion of the podcast to Adam.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Naz was a proper helmet, says Snoop Bob. He's not a fan. Don't hate anybody, mate. Says
remember the time he shouted on that Colin Hart? I don't
Oh,
like you,
yes.
Colin. I don't like you.
Yeah.
You can just see Hart just sitting there smiling and just laughing away. And that. Is that right? Is that right, Naz? You just got to him.
Hasn't Victor Ortiz given us some moments where we could certainly hate him?
Yeah. He quit on that fight against Maidana, remember?
Yeah, well, then he was like...
Prowls up and down the Highway 66 with his lorry.
What was his name? The middleweight, the German middleweight, was it Brandt?
Rob Brandt?
Yeah, I had a fucking beef with him for some reason. His style, I fucking hated watching him. Every time his fucking stupid name was brought, wasn't he American? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy around the middleweight division as well. Who was the fucking Australian guy? He got the shot against Golovkin. Daniel Gill, was it?
Yeah.
Nothing just annoyed me that he was floating around fucking world title fights. Nothing for no reason. Like I just took it upon myself to fucking hate Daniel Gill for a while.
Really,
the type of guy who
was a great
type of guy who would take punches and then start doing the head movement after he took the shots.
Like Scott Cardle. Duck, left, right, bob, weave, take a full flush punch.
He's trying to snake charm me by saying, I never took these shots. Look, see, I moved my head.
Canelo done my head in against Bivol doing that. Every time he got punched, he like done the turn back as if it had avoided him. Cheating bastard. Yeah, maybe Canelo for me. No, I don't hate
Try to buy the rounds, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Sneaky bastards.
Good stuff.
Did.
Yeah, Usyk's a bad guy, you know.
That seemed to get everybody riled up.
This is honestly, I mean, it's kind of a metaphor for the way that people are training the Ukrainians right now. See the guy get punched in the dick right in front of their face, and somehow he's not the victim. It's a fucked up world.
Oh, that guy in the green jumper, I'd love to punch him. Who turns up? Anyway, right, we're not getting into that.
Oh, talking about the green jumper, man. Did you see that? Did you see that thing I put up earlier on there?
Oh, yeah, was that from Puerto Rico? Excuse me.
Aye, you need to get that up, Steve.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got it up all right, don't worry.
Hey, yo.
Can you send it to me again? I might have deleted it.
Send it to him again. He's going to get it up again.
Have you got your phone there?
Yes, I do, yes.
Give me a second.
All right, that'll do.
The bit of poison ivy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Remember.
Anthony, but no, I didn't hate Mundine.
You mean Sven Odkin's bitch?
Yeah, exactly. For me, that was a carry on, wasn't it?
1 of 6, baby. 1 of 6.
Absolutely. That's right. Banged out cold by the Iceman. Right, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, next Friday night in the Bolton Whites Hotel. Lyndon Arthur's going in against Brian Nahual Suarez for the vacant IBO World Light Heavyweight title. I'm not even going to bother talking about that. I'll watch it, though, next weekend.
If you have a choice between watching that or Ricky Burns against Willie Lemond.
I think I'll watch that, to be honest with you.
What's that, a fucking...
It's happening, Rob.
What?
It's happening. Yeah.
Next Friday night.
Fuck off again.
I won't lie to you. At 100.
Are they boxing an exhibition or something, or is it?
No, 12 rounds, Rob.
Someone's iron's got to go, Rob.
Oh, okay. Someone's iron.
It's like going back 15 years, man.
It's like a blast from the past. Like, geez, I haven't heard of Willie Lemond since fucking...
Lemond.
Since he dropped Amir Khan. That's fucking 15 years ago or something, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no purse on the line. They're playing for each other's pudding for the next month from the meal delivery service for the seniors.
Ricky, go to try and make that bag back that Uncle Frank took allegedly.
Ricky Barnes looking for that rematch with Terence Crawford. Unfinished business. You know what I mean?
Aye.
No unfinished business here. The main man himself has jumped on the call. It's Eamon Khan, aka Take Ames, taking aim at the fight last night. Are you still in Poland, Ames?
What fight is this?
Oh, come on, man, come on. Adam Hamed on the undercard.
Have you guys spoke about the low blow yet?
What low blow? Kosabutsky?
Yeah, no, I am still in Poland, Steve.
What did you see from your vantage point?
You know, we were right by like a real cramped ringside. It was very crazy kind of atmosphere, dripping down with rain, lots of heat in the stadium too. So it's like thunder and lightning going on as well, like a smoke kind of descending like Thriller over the actual ring at the time. But in terms of the actual controversy, I originally saw it as a legal punch, and then the replay was played in the stadium, and I saw the replay as a legal punch too. It wasn't until I spoke to Usyk earlier today, and he played me a different angle that I'd not seen, and that punch was clear as day low. So I'm sort of like 2 hours sleep, deprived of any real energy or understanding. But like I've seen two kind of sides, but the last kind of side I saw looked like a real kind of conclusive low blow. I don't know how you guys have chopped it up on here, but it did look low. Coupled with what the rules seem to be, it does seem to be a low blow.
You know, Ames, for me, I think the issue, I wouldn't be looking at the shot itself. It was 50-50, depending on your vantage point, how a referee might call that one. So, you know, just lean towards Pabon on that. But the fact he was insisting that Usyk made more time, he was leaning on extending that break in the action. That would be where I'm saying, hey, if there's some sort of a tilt, that is where I'm looking, not at the shot itself. If I'm in Dubois' camp, that would be my complaint.
Well, there were some rumors. I don't know how true this is, but I believe maybe it was said that amongst the media that someone had asked Lewis what he'd seen, and he said he'd even seen the replays, and he was convinced after he saw the replay that he made the right call.
So the replays post-fight, like watching it on the TV?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. Mark Stanton said, "Did Usyk show you his bruised cock?" That's a bit low. That is a low blow for Mark Stanton there.
Jesus Christ.
When you're in the presence of Alexander himself, I suppose you're not going to put it on him. But I mean, what about the fight itself? What about Dubois' performance? Should he have jumped on him in that 5th round and really let the shots go?
Absolutely. Like, I think that's kind of a given with how at least kind of the rhetoric is about beating Alexander Usyk, especially with Chisora's performance from a British perspective of having, you know, had the best or the most perceived success against him at the heavyweight division. It does seem like a real missed opportunity. Speaking to some of the Dubois team, that moment kind of really kind of been and gone and passed them by, and you know, maybe the length of that break in time kind of did break Dubois' kind of, I don't know,
momentum almost.
Momentum, yeah, momentum is the right word, Steve. Yeah, it felt like, I mean, Dubois never really put it on him throughout the fight, really. And in terms of Dubois' performance, look, I thought for someone who's, you know, we don't really look at Dubois as boxing fans as someone who might be a big player in a few years because of some of the performances he's had, you know, against Joyce and Lorena. But I thought in parts there he showed some real kind of different elements to his game that I was quite impressed with. Just slipping some jabs, a bit more of a head movement, a bit more of like I said, I think Dubois' shot selection is pretty good, and I thought he did do better than I'd expected in little moments in the fight. Hopefully he can come again. Hopefully he doesn't. You know, a bad defeat was a real problem, I think, given how his fight with Joyce ended. I've not fully seen the actual ending of the fight again. I know a lot of people are saying he jacked it again, which I've said before. I can't really point the finger and say to a fighter like, I think you quit. That's just not in me to kind of say that. But you know, I've seen a lot of people saying that. I don't know if Andy's more of that person to kind of really kind of be brutal mente about it. But
because he drinks alcohol.
No, I'm completely sober, and I said it. I did say it. I says this whole debacle about the low blow is detracted from the fact that he got knocked out in a jab, got counted out on his knees. That's the truth. That's what happened. Everybody saw it, and it's this whole low blow situation is just distracting for that fact. Because if it wasn't for that, everybody would be saying it, that he quit.
I don't know if this is a bit of misinformation, but I don't know if you guys have read this as well. It's the case that, look, if ifs and buts for sure, but hypothetically, had that fight taken place in the UK, it would have been a legitimate lockdown. We would be potentially looking at like a new unified heavyweight champion, right?
Well, supposing, as we were talking about earlier, that he would have gone up, Usyk wouldn't have got up, and it would have followed the course that he would have been counted out under British Boxing Board of Control rules.
So right, he could have also got up as well. You know, you just don't know if Usyk would have got up if the count started, and then once he got up and action was called to start, he took a knee again. You just don't know how Usyk would have responded, because, as I says, how did he finish that 5th round? He was getting his win back and he was coming back into it. Then obviously it just totally changed.
If Dubois had really gone for it, and there might be more public outcry to try to pursue a rematch. If he had fought harder to get up, there might be more public outcry for a rematch. I think that shot was just 50-50, enough that if he had made a better fight of it down the stretch, that the people would definitely be trying to get him another shot at it.
Ames, what was the overriding feeling amongst sort of Dubois' wider team? Was Frank Warren running around like a radish shouting robbery? Were they more sort of philosophical about it? Were they maybe saying Dubois could have put the heat on a bit more? Where was the kind of feelings lying at the end of it?
A radish?
Yeah, so basically his face is like raging, like bursting red, basically. You remember Barry from A Widdie's Pet? He was a radish.
Me on those old BNTV streams whenever Mrs. Wellington put the heating on.
Wait. Steve says a radish, and then Andy says Barry from who, from where?
Did you never watch A Widdie's Pet as a kid, no?
Oh, he's 50 years younger than us, Andy.
This is so fucking esoteric for me. It's unbelievable. What are they talking about here?
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm with you.
From our feed his own pet.
I'm with you, Matty, on this one. Even though you've got your own Matty zingers in the past. Yeah.
Search YouTube. Go Google Barry the Radish. Right.
Comedy about Geordies with a fucking German title, and Matty's fucking lost, man. Set in the UK, he don't have no fucking chance.
Especially Geordies, man. You like my cooking, lad?
Aye.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember that one time
with the black stuff? Go ahead, James.
Do you remember that one time when Matty kind of started singing like a really obscure American debt advert?
Aye.
Hey, you're taking us down a wild path here. Come on, get to the point, man.
My apologies. My
He's
apologies.
On 2 hours of sleep. You might drift here and there, you know.
That's right. No, look, yeah, you pretty much called it. Frank Warren was obviously putting out to whoever he could speak to that this was a robbery, and it was clearly a legitimate punch. Having seen whatever angle he'd seen. The Dubois team, like Don was inconsolable. So and seconds out, I've got like a real good relationship with Don. I've been able to like kind of get to know Don a little bit more, and he's been really open and accommodating. Steve, you probably know Don longer than I have, so you know that he's very much a real gent. Everyone kind of describes him as a gent, and just at the end of this fight, like Don never like threw any fits or anything like that, but he just said, look, I'm distraught, I don't want to speak, I don't want to talk about this sort of thing. He needed that time to kind of digest everything. And when Don went over to the press conference, Daniel kind of then, and the rest of the team just left, because of course Daniel doesn't speak much at the best of times, outside of just his obligated commitments. But yeah, look, I think some of the team kind of like, I think all the team were kind of disappointed. Some of the team kind of understood as well, like there was that missed opportunity to really kind of press on the gas, regardless if it was a lower blow or not. Usyk was visibly hurt by something. I know some people were kind of saying that he milked it and things like that, but I don't believe that at all. But the guy was hurt by a low blow or not, and there might have been an opportunity on another night with a bit more experience that Dubois could have seized upon something.
And what about what's next? I know you were talking to Usyk and his team. Obviously, Hrgovic, I think he was supposed to be at ringside, whether he turned up or not. I'm not sure. The Fury sort of ghost hangs over the whole situation. Did you get anything out of Usyk?
Yeah, that's right. Hrgovic was supposed to be ringside. I didn't see Hrgovic ringside in the fight week, or he didn't see him ringside or in the fight week at all. Yeah, look, there's only one fight that should be next. It should be Tyson Fury. We've seen the back and forth from them emanating for a while. I remember seeing the divide only being a set of boxing ropes when Tyson Fury fought at Wembley, and he called on the challenge of Alexander Usyk that fight should be next, should be happening. Am I confident? No, I don't think any boxing fan is confident that that fight does happen. But Usyk seems to want it. Both fighters seem to want it, but I don't know. They just don't seem to be able to get over the line contractually, which is a real shame. That's probably because they're looking to maximise the profits as much as possible.
Anything else you want to throw in, Ames, before we let you go? I know you're absolutely knackered. Did you say you're going for the flight, or where are you located at the moment?
No, I'm at the hotel at the moment playing my Nintendo Switch, talking to you guys, searching up Appleweed Own Pet, and looking at Barry the Radish. I'm flying out to
chill out, ladies of Warsaw. Mind yourselves out there.
Warsaw, ladies of Warsaw, ladies of Warsaw.
Warsaw? You ever been to Warsaw, Ames?
Warsaw.
Come on, man. Wolverhampton, Warsaw, it's all the same thing. No, I'm flying back home in the morning tomorrow, so I just thought I'd chime in.
No, brilliant stuff.
Irish striker David Kelly. He played for them, didn't he, Walsall?
Yeah, absolutely. And he played for Wolves as well, Rob. You might remember. Yeah,
he did indeed.
Shout out to you, Ames, as well, for coming on. It's always good to have you here. A safe journey back home. And are you going to do a stream tomorrow evening, or are you going to give it a miss?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, this appearance and any potential future appearances are dedicated to the memory of Steve's goat.
Thanks very much. Steve is the goat, as Ames once said. Good to have you on as always, sir. Take care, okay? We'll speak to you soon.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ames.
See you, Ames.
There. Good lad he is. There's our feed his own pet. Jimmy Nail at the back there.
Jimmy Nail as well, yeah.
Bomber.
Big
Wayne
Bomber.
in front, wasn't it? Yeah. And
Big
Barry.
Bomber.
Barry. Neville.
There's Barry the Radish here on the bottom
Aye.
left-hand corner there.
What was the Scouser called? Moxie, wasn't it?
Moxie, aye. Wayne the Shagger there in the bottom right-hand corner.
Big Bomber at the back there.
See, Big Oz, man, I could not, honestly, see, some of the scenes he was in, man, was absolutely amazing. Just like waking up in like a fucking bin bag with fucking beer cans around about him, but he's just stretching out in the morning, must crash these balls. I'm like, what a guy, man. Just think of a fuck.
Oh, good stuff. That's a good one. Shout out to Captain Casual. That's Damo, friend of the pod. He is a member of the Patreon as well over at patreon.com/boxing asylum. He's thrown in a tenner. He says, boys, here £1 for virtually every hour since the fight we spent on the Boxing Nutters Messenger group debating whether it was a low blow or not. As I said last night, it puts farmers' daily struggles in perspective.
see what I get with this, where I am with this low blow thing. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. The fight went on. If the ref makes a mistake during the fight, you can't wind it back. What's like? Are we supposed to freeze the fight and allow Daniel Dubois that moment of victory? It didn't happen. It's like if a ref makes a decision in a soccer match or whatever before pre-VAR, the game fucking rolls on. It is what it is. It's like the Tyson long counted against Douglas. Was it long? Maybe. Yeah, but there was another fucking 2 rounds where Buster Douglas punched the fucking head off him and knocked him out. So that's what happened once the action restarted. Usyk just took complete control over the fight. If he old-manned him, if he was wily character, if he sold it to the ref, Dubois still has, like, it's all deflection from Dubois' performance and trying to keep him in the market as a fighter, because if that incident hadn't happened, you would have seen him get beat up for 9 rounds and then get stopped when the heat got turned up on him and look to quit. Like, no, I hate saying that about guys that are looking to quit, but we have to say what we see as well and talk about a brutal sport. It is a brutal sport, and it looks like from not just one fight now, from a couple of fights, that Dubois doesn't have it when it gets rocky to stay in it. That might be extremely harsh, but I don't think so.
See, the other thing I was going to mention, actually, see me talk about like people losing their minds over decision, like, oh, referees fucked it up. Remember when Fury got dropped off Wilder and everybody was, those who were Wilder fans were shouting, it was doing for longer than 10 seconds. It's no 10 seconds, it's a fucking 10 count. You know, the referee, he administers it at his discretion. For example, if the referee starts counting and he's up to 5 and Wilder's hanging over the top of him, he's got to stop the count and go tell him, get back to neutral corner, for example. Then he picks up a count again at 5, 6. It's not a 10 seconds, it's a 10 count. People just want to grasp in that. And then, as I say, in the cold, light-hearted day, once you check things over again, I think a lot of people should come to the decision that it was a low blow.
There you go, Andy, the voice of reason, episode 537. Rob's here, Matty's here, Take Ames has disappeared off somewhere. We wish him well. Doesn't sound like he's going to be getting into much trouble on the streets of Poland tonight anyway, playing Legend of Zelda. Let's get on to the action for next weekend. in the Manchester Arena, and I'm not going to do that joke. Florian Marco's on the undercard against Dylan Moran, 18-1. He has one of the most padded records I've ever seen. Good luck to Dylan in that one. Fraser Clark's going in against Dave Allen. Frankie Stringer, never heard of him. Michaela Mayer's on the card as well. Adam Azim against Aram Fanian. Lauren Price. Mark Heffron. Canelo's ducking him. He's having to fight Jack Cullen for the British super middleweight title as well on the undercard. It's all about the main event, though. Liam Smith going back in against Chris Eubank Jr. Andy, the last time we saw these two fighting against each other, Eubank Jr. suddenly got knocked out in round 4, was it? Got banged out, and it was a bit of an upset at the time. They're going back again. It's on pay-per-view, according to the advertisements this weekend that I saw on Sky.
Aye, and it's a shite undercard as well, mate, to be fair, eh? Pay-per-view for that. Yeah, no great. As you say, probably about the one fight, and even that, mate, it's not really kind of bringing up any, any pulses, for example. It's not a money grab, so fair play to both guys, they're getting paid the game. I'm not too sure how it'll go. I don't know if it'll go longer this time. I'm not going to say like Eubank was, for example, saying like it was a lucky punch or something like he got caught with, or he was outboxing Smith until he got caught. It was a clean ending, put it that way. And if Smith does catch him again, he has got that nasty side to him, Beefy Smith. So if he gets a chance, he will take Eubank out of there. I would not be surprised. What's the weight? Actually, just out of curiosity, is it a middleweight?
I do believe so.
Is it again? We just need to see how Eubank.
Yes, middleweight. Yeah.
Is it?
The over/under, Andy, is 10.5 rounds in that, and with you're getting better than even money taking the under.
Yeah, is that betting advice, Matty?
I'm just announcing the facts there. That's interesting. The first one ended in the first half of the fight, and they're saying this is a distance fight most likely. That's interesting.
So they're going with the fact, as Eubank said, then that it was a lucky punch, quote unquote, and that was a bit of an outlier of a decision.
He also had that. He took the fight as well, no long after the Ben camp. So has he cooked it?
Yes, coming back down in weight, exactly. Yes.
Is he cooked the weight possibly? I don't know. So he's put a bit of weight back on, then brought it back down again for the fight. Again, we just need to wait and see how he looks at the weigh-in. But again, there's just a couple of issues here. Just need to wait and see how it looks. How does he look at the weight? I suspect it'll go a few more rounds. I expect Eubank to be a bit more cagey. Smith will he'll be confident based off what happened off the last fight. He knows he can knock him out. So it's just about just getting his moment if he can get it again. But yeah, I'd probably look at Matty's bet as well. I'd be expecting it to go longer this time.
What are you thinking prediction wise, Andy? And same for you in the chat. Get your predictions in, guys.
I'm picking Beefy Smith to win. I'm not too sure yet on the stoppage or if
points,
it's going to be
points.
I possibly will say points as well.
Des says same as the first one. No version of Eubank Jr. has ever been better than any version of Smith. Good observation. Smith beats him. What odds is a draw, Matty? Says Ray.
Oh, but they're like 20-1 or something like that.
Any draw advice there, Matty?
Draws 14-1, Steve.
14-1, right? Okay. Mark Stanton says Smith
which
points.
Is a bit on the low end.
Rob Wood said Smith again, in my opinion. Now, at the risk, Matty, of upsetting the reviewers and being a hater, I just can't get up for this fight. It's just me. I'm not telling anybody else or trying to inflict my views on any of the listeners. If you're excited for this, then good luck.
You're a hater.
It's great. Honestly, I just don't give a shit about this fight. I'm going to watch it, obviously, Matty, but
there's just like Steve. There's just like nothing else going on this weekend, so I guess we're just gonna have to watch this. So I'm all in for this fucking rematch, buddy. Gonna be on. I think it's gonna be on ESPN Plus. Thank God, I'll have something to watch, and we'll have something to discuss next week. Otherwise, there's gonna be some slim pickings. It actually is. But I think. I think it is interesting that they're thinking this is going to go that many more rounds than the first one. It seems a little bit crazy. I guess they feel comfortable with Eubank at the weight. What I'd be looking at that's weird is Eubank dumped Roy Jones Jr. For this fight. I can't remember who he picked up for his trainer, but it's just another tumultuous camp for him with a change in trainers, and he's been going over and over this throughout his career. And I just think if you're looking at it, just who has probably steadier legs going into the fight, it's just got to be it's just got to be Smith. So I'm going with Smith all the way. I don't think he stops him in the first half, but I think just coming over the midway point, he'll start wearing him down and find the right shot.
Bomac, Matty. Bomac, yeah.
What's
he's
that?
Bomax, he's training.
EUBANK.
I know.
Aye. Can't imagine him trying to do that.
Yeah, better choice than Derek James, but
he did need to fill up, Andy, after losing all that weight to try and fight Ben. So I suppose
mate, he's got
a better nutritionist.
Well, that's how it's going to be easier to make the weight. Is Bomac's going to be sitting there like taking food that's like sitting there, and you'll be like, "Hey, where'd my French fries go?" Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where French fries went.
Bomac is ideal for the fucking body bag, by the way. I'm telling you, like, in terms of like bag work,
he's going to end up in a body bag if he's not fucking careful. Anyway, shout out to Bomac, friend of the podcast.
I wonder will Eubank try and do a poor man's Terence Crawford impersonation like he did a poor man's Roy Jones impersonation, and because this would be interesting to see, won't it? Like, no, it won't. What am I talking about? It won't be interesting to see at all. I'm with you, Steve. I couldn't give a flying fuck. Like, I've seen this once. Why the fuck do I need to see this one again?
I feel like a hater, Rob. Join me, man.
No, but like fucking 2-time IBO world titleist who's kind of, everyone's saying I actually got I was going to say, like, take it easy on fucking Nazi Muhammad's kid and all that. Like, these guys are fucking turning over, and the kind of sons and juniors and all do get a lot of extra hate. But Eubank fucking, he was the perpetuator of all this, wasn't he? Going around with his fucking IBO titles. He's been fucking he's never done anything like in the sport to vindicate his fucking
position. What are you talking about, mate? He knocked out Yildirim, mate.
Well, that was good.
That was
beat
good
James
game.
DeGale after Abraham.
Yeah, but there was something wrong that night because I was on holidays that night and it was me and a whole load of Rangers fans in a bar watching it together, having a right crack. So there was something fucking spooky that night going on anyway.
Something was in the air.
There's something in the air that night.
I feel it coming in the air tonight, Rob.
But no, I can't get up for this fight at all. I don't want to watch an interview about it. I don't care what the two of them are fucking saying about each other. Where the fuck? Like, it's not a title fight. It's just... It's a boxer show, isn't it? Like, shout out Ben Shalom. He was a great lad. But yeah, not for me.
Everybody's going for Liam Smith, Andy. Now, we did hear from a little birdie who shall remain nameless that Smith wasn't maybe putting it all in the old training camp. But we don't know whether that's legitimate or not. We can't really take those rumours as anything other than a pinch of salt, I think. I'm going Smith.
Yeah, possibly, because after it was reported, Smith reappeared on the scene like literally like a few days later. So I don't know what's happened there. I don't know if it's been some personal issues that need to be ironed out that he's had to go away and sort it out. But who knows, mate? But as I say, he's going to be confident. Hopefully, that confidence isn't leading into a wee bit of arrogance, and he's taking eye off the ball a wee bit, possibly. But just need to wait and see. As I say, there's a couple of narratives in this fight that just needs to iron out a wee bit. Like, again, the weight, motivation, what's in it for both guys? I mean, again, there's no belt. It's all about the cash. I don't think anybody's really bothered about who wins the fight, to be fair. And as Rob says, who gives a flying fuck? One of them. Well, of course, we're going to watch it, but it's just one of the ones, man. We've seen it before, and very seldom do you get a rematch. There's always been question marks about Eubank's relative boxing IQ compared to Smith. I mean, Smith's a well-rounded fighter. So I just think it's levels at the end of the day, to be fair.
Des says, jumping from one niche trainer to another, it doesn't work. Kaiser Cobra says, absolutely team stream. Yeah, we absolutely endorse that as well.
I just feel bad. I mean, and you got to think about this too, Steve, from a financial portion. For Bomac to head over that direction, the Eubank team doesn't have to pay for just one airplane seat.
Fuck off, I knew where you were going to go.
He's talking about, Matt. He's having to hire a Globe Master to get him out there, man. Jesus Christ.
Now the exit row only has 2 seats, but they'd have to be able to help other passengers off in case of emergency.
Mate, you would need to put him at the tailgate and drop him out the back with 4 parachutes attached to him. Can you attach him to one parachute? That guy would go through there like shit through a goose, man.
Feels wrong doing this fat shaming without Aussie being with us. We're going to have to move on here.
I'm doing my best.
Captain
and now Rob's left us.
Rob's gone as well.
Rob.
Shalom needs the cash for some fresh wank socks.
2 cents.
Technique says, was it low? I don't know whether he's talking about the Usyk low blow or Wellington's IQ.
Or my joke.
Or his joke. Will you stand 86 says, sad to say, but Shalom is a proper wish level Eddie. At least Eddie put a bit of effort into pumping us for our coins. Kaiser Cobra says, absolute disgrace. There's Rob back again. Right, anything you want to add? Rob says Smith on points. We're all going Smith, aren't we, boys? Yeah. Matty, you going points as well?
No, knockout. What the fuck?
Oh, you going Smith knockout? Okay. Early, late, over, under, in between?
Yeah, just probably just a little bit over the halfway point.
Oh, okay. There you are. Smith knockout. Everyone else going points. Points, Andy, yeah?
Yeah, I'll go points.
Chukwu's in. It's 10:14. I'm in. Glad to have you in there, Chukwu. Glad to have you in. Before we go on to Value of the Week, boys, anything else you want to throw in there? Anything I might have missed from the weekend? Anything coming up next week? Any talking points? Rob, Kiko Martin has retired. Do you want to have a word on that quickly?
Bit premature, if you ask me.
Fiat Arslan as well at 52.
Arslan 52, mate. He just retired there.
Look, Kiko was great value. We saw a lot of them on this side of the pond between Bernardon and Frampton, 2 fights, and every other British guy that he fought for the last fucking 3 to 4 years. And still knocking fellas Sparko up until fucking a year or so ago. All heart, all action, tough bastard. Probably should have retired fucking 5 or 6 years ago. Over, a big achiever and probably the best Spanish boxer of all time.
Yes.
Yeah. So fair play to him.
By virtue of me not being able to think of any others, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. Sandro Martin is there.
Javier
Bastards.
Castillejo, yeah, that's a good show.
Oh yeah.
Was he not born in Argentina? I'm not sure actually.
No, he was Spanish, I'm sure.
Was he? Right, okay.
Yeah.
But very entertaining fighter and fucking dynamite power, and seemed like a good lad as well. So good.
Yeah.
Good luck to him.
Good luck to Kiko. Lyndon Arthur, Andy, next Friday evening. You reckon the opponent might be live?
I don't know about that, to be fair, mate. I just think it'll be interesting how Arthur approaches it. And I know it's some sort of IBO title. I think it's on the line. But this Suarez, I remember seeing him get knocked out off of Albert Ramirez. Now, Albert Ramirez is a decent enough fighter. One of these South Americans. I think he's Venezuelan. Good amateur. Good power, good southpaw. And I think he, if he got a chance, he would probably come up as one of your favourite B-side fighters, like a Carballo Campillo, but definitely got power. Anyway, that Ramirez knocked out this guy in 1 round, but it was up until then, the guy was bringing the heat. So it'll be interesting. Arthur's not a big puncher. He's got hand problems. Again, unless the guy's going to dial it in. And again, it's a title on the line of some sort, so you've got to hope he's going to bring some sort of kind of fire to the fight. So I'm kind of hoping this guy might bring it a wee bit and maybe make it a wee bit interesting, make Arthur fight, and maybe kind of force him to kind of sit on his punches a wee bit as well. Just need to wait and see though. But I'm basing it off a 1 round knockout though. It's the only thing. So I could be totally wrong here. He might fold again in like 30 seconds. Who knows, mate? But as I says, for the 2 minutes 30 that the fight lasted, mate, he was definitely trying to get himself in the fight. Like that Ramirez was just a different level, to be fair. So,
well, Friday nights on Channel 5 do tend to throw up some decent fights, Andy. So on that basis, we can hope that he is going to come and give it a good go.
Yeah, and that Antwi is usually quite strong as well, isn't he? He's
fighting Mason Cartwright on the is it Mason or Reese Cartwright? I think it's Mason Cartwright, former friend of the pod. Yeah,
I think it's the British title on the line as well. So it might be decent accidental value possibly.
Well, accidental value from Cali Solan there. Hopefully, let's get on to the value of the week then.
You got a card in Brentwood with Prediction League favorite Constantine Ursu taking on Jordan Dujan over 10 rounds. So we got that going on there. And then also from Denmark, going to have a women's bantamweight unification with Dina Thorsland against Julian Luna Avila. So that
Thorsland points, lads. He's not just bank it right now. Dina Thorsland on
sounds
points.
like a thriller.
She's a pretty solid little boxer, actually. So I
10 round decision.
Yeah, it could be an all right fight though. Avila comes to fight.
Mm-hmm. Any chicks to dig coming up soon, Matt?
Potentially when Mr. Kennedy gets back from holiday.
Is he still pretending he's on holiday?
That's exactly what he's doing.
He's
head of Joe Kennedy, head of the Prediction League. Okay, then, boys. Take 2. Let's get on to Belly of the Week, episode 537. Matt is here, Rob's here, Andy's here, and me, Steve, is here as well. Andy, you'll be pleased to hear that I was flicking through some old episodes of the pod a few days ago, and I came upon the Bellew Cleverly 2 post-fight podcast.
Oh no!
You'd been hitting the gold label, as you admitted to, and your views on pay-per-view maybe won't be shared by the Sky executives this weekend, but you had some interesting thoughts anyway on a possible trilogy. Thank God it didn't ever happen between
Oh, that was horrendous that night, man.
Cleverly. Well, here.
One of the longest nights of your life, man. That was the worst undercard ever.
Luckily, the podcast has disappeared off into the ether, into the abyss, until I dragged it out this weekend. So let's hear what went down.
Well, just we're talking about rematches, right? Okay, you had after the fight cleverly calling out for a trilogy, basically. He wants the third fight or the rubber match in Wales. See if that fight is picked up, right, by Sky. Okay, they pick it up. See, they put it on pay-per-view. I'm hereby leading the official charge to run down to London and firebomb Sky headquarters. That fight ends up on pay-per-view. There's the boxing in fucking Britain's finished, from my opinion.
Ben Weisman Industries.
They cannot put it. Sorry, that's the goal label speaking there. I posted the goal label bottle on Twitter tonight, so people will know what my problem is tonight. That fucking fight is absolutely abomination on boxing.
If Interpol wasn't following us already.
Fucking had to play that one, didn't you? They're going to get me now. Fuck's sake.
How long ago was that fight? That was a good.
Suppose 10 years ago, was it?
Was it 14?
Bloody hell.
13?
It's got to be 10 years ago, hasn't it? At least.
The original was the 2011. The original. It was when Box Nation started, wasn't it?
With BI.
First one was. It was the first one. It was the
Robbie
first
Davis
fight
was-
in Box Nation, wasn't it?
Robbie Davis was the referee in the first fight, wasn't he?
Robbie Davis. Yeah.
Richie Davis, sorry.
Oh, Richie Davis, that's right.
Because remember they were starting to get kind of wide with each other, with maybe some of the punches or maybe some of the shoving or holding, and that he's got hold of them and just fucking sorted it out.
14. It was 14. Yeah. 2014. That one.
Wow. Time flies. Fuck me.
And then remember Cleverly wanted to fight Kovalev and somebody said, that's a good idea, mate. And Frank's like, that's no, mate. He didn't want to do that.
Cleverly's a god bothering sex addict now.
We'll put Terry O'Connor in the ring, mate, just to kind of protect you a wee bit, mate. We'll not make it obvious, like, you know, don't worry about it.
Oh dear.
Remember he clinched his way to his first fucking vacant world title and then tried to tell the fucking post-fight interviewer that it was the Bernard Hopkins style that he was implementing in the fucking Cleverly. Should have known then. Fuck's sake.
Oh dear. Yeah. Shout out to that one. Anyway, let's move on. Dev Sarni, Alexander Usyk would not win a British heavyweight title. Tony Bellew jumped in and says, of course he wouldn't, he's Ukrainian. James Tunn's nominated for that one. We mentioned this earlier, Andy.
Oh, is
John Fury.
Table flipping. Yeah, Del Boy de Jura, eh? Oh my word. What a man. I'm a fighting man. I throw tables over.
That was brutal, that spectacle, wasn't it?
That definitely in no way was all set up.
No, man. I hadn't really even thought that John Fury was unhinged like that, mate. He would never do anything like that.
That was real raw emotion. I love the way he gets all riled up, right? And then when he gets into character, he's like fully in it and all, and he just starts like trusting and telling everybody that his children came out of his balls. He's always at that one. Out of my balls, he's too. Oh, fuck you, everyone in this venue. Sure, Jesus, relax, fucking hell. But he's always at the balls, isn't he? Came out my balls. So no low blows for Big John.
Absolutely not. Well, it was the KSI Tommy Fury. Some people suggested he was trying to take the heat off Tommy Fury. But I think he was more trying to put the heat on himself, Andy, because he's a rampant egomaniac and a narcissist.
Aye. I almost seen the clip on Twitter, mate, but as I say, he's been kind of like watching Del Boy, who, by the way, did anybody hear Del Boy this weekend?
He's everywhere as well, by the way, isn't he, Del Boy? He fucking pops up everywhere. What was he doing over in Poland at that fight last night, Del Boy?
Probably calling out the winner, wasn't he?
He was eating a brother's
No,
roast,
apparently after his last fight, he just wandered off and then he ended up in Poland, just appeared there.
Looking for Danny Williams.
Jesus.
Oh dear.
Looking for Carol the Fridge Williams or something like that. What's his name? The big
Carl Fridge Baker.
Baker.
Yeah, that was him who he
Carol
kissed
Baker.
on Valentine's Day, wasn't it?
I remember that. It was big fridge man was like £300.
Oh gosh. Yeah, shout out to Del. Who have we got here? Oh, Lou DiBella is angry about Jugs Cheats excuses. He says, love how people make shit up in an attempt to exculpate a PED user. FOH, hashtag boxing. And Boxing Talk says, crazy that, Lou. Lou DiBella, applying medication to her dog caused Gabriel to test positive for clusterball. The internet never forgets.
Delay excuse.
But Lou was very fucking like he stood over that one, like, didn't he? Because people were like, "Come on, Lou," and all. He was like, "Oh yeah, so I suppose all you know that, you know, it's so easy to get disposable gloves where she's from." I was like, "Why did you just put fucking gloves on if she was doing that with the dog?"
What's she from, like?
I don't know.
School of Hard Knocks, Andy.
Fucking,
I'd forgive her anyway, though. I'd believe it. I'd say she's fucking genuine excuse.
Yep.
Wonder
Dogs
why that
like
is.
Keith Lord.
If that was Jane Couch, would you be coming to that conclusion?
Throw the fucking book at her. Bad for life, mate. I've said it over and over.
Robert said it repeatedly. Oh, gosh. Steve Bunce is out in Poland. He says, social observations from Wrocław. In local restaurants, the diners collect their plates together and take them to an area to stack. Poland 1-0. Nice. But as I said, Andy, they have to do that in the Asda here, and that's not that's not even too new, is it? Stacking your own plates after you've eaten your dinner.
The day at the local Klondike, man, you take it, you fucking tray into the trolley thing and slide it in. Fucking hell, it's nothing new, mate.
Oh, not for Bunsey.
Fuck's
Doing
sake.
himself over there.
Our local hospital's got it, man. Fucking hell.
There he is with the radish face. He says Usyk is not a busy fighter. He's not busy like Holyfield or Anthony Joshua. You can outwork him.
He just says anything at this stage, doesn't he, Bunsey? Like, he just fucking.
Oh, hey, man,
stop.
he went full corporate last night, man, when he was talking about, yeah, there will be a rematch. Uncle Frank will make it happen. He'll make. I was like, oh my God, here we go. He's going to start complaining for a rematch. Holy shit.
Mark Stanton says on the plates, Bunsey has some brothers do it for him.
The Klitschko brothers.
Oh, class. Well done, Mark Stanton. Good old Bunsey. There's one for you, Matty. Canelo has turned up advertising beer, but Christine Nangle is not sure. Is this a celebrity or just a guy? She's taking photos in the local supermarket. Matty, has that turned up?
What's with the shorts, man? What the fuck?
Who was the guy?
And
Some random.
there is a 99.9% chance that bitch is white and lives in the suburbs.
Well,
looks like kind of Ben Affleck, doesn't it?
Oh, that's Canelo. Before the pre-juice days. Oscar De La Hoya was out in force, advertising exposed sports. Let's play. My girlfriend started the first ever topless sports league featuring all her hot girlfriends. It's fucking wild. If you like boobs and sports, check it out.
Oscar's going to OD, man. Oscar's going to be a funny end.
He deleted it, though.
Oscar, man.
Did he?
Oscar, why is he? He's invested in this, hasn't he? Like, he's put a few pounds into this himself, like, hasn't he?
Oh, aye, man.
Fuck's sake, Oscar, man.
He's getting his money's worth, man. Don't you worry about that.
And
he's definitely gotten a few pounds in, Rob.
And the answer to that is, you like both, but not necessarily always at the fucking same time. You know what I mean? Everything has its place.
I love how in Value of the Week, though, Rob, we get like people who've liked things accidentally or got caught out. But Oscar, there's no grey area.
This is fucking. Hey, you guys like boobs and sports? Rough sports? Rough and tough sports?
No grey area in the likes for old Oscar there. Oh, dear.
I thought we should have fucking got rid of Oscar the last time after the Ryan Garcia press conference when he said with a straight face on that interview that, you know, I had to leave the press conference because a guy came up to me and he said, "You're going to die tonight." That fucking didn't happen. Like, fucking show us, there's fucking cameras everywhere. Show us this person. That did not happen.
Wasn't Anthony Collar, was it?
Might have been AJ, man, going to the streets.
Mystic Meg. Anyway, shout out to Oscar. Huey Fury. Click, 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 click. Just a genuine scheme for the people. Something very simple to earn you money. Please let me know if you wish to become a promoter for Welcome Estates to earn yourself some money. Wasn't that Porky's Welcome Estates? He was all up with them, wasn't he? The villas.
Oh, good. Better watch for
Click, click, click. Yeah.
Something starts off like that, I'm normally in.
Yeah, whatever happened to the Conor Ben NFTs, by the way, Steve? Did you invest in them? Ben NFT. Did you invest in them?
No. Even Regis Prograis won't be stupid enough to invest in them.
He can't even get paid, man. He's chasing his check.
Well, he's signed with about 17 different promoters. That's his problem.
That's his fucking issue.
Anyway, a few young Nganou's happening. People aren't too happy with the poster.
Fury looks like a fucking knockoff of Street Fighter, man, isn't it?
It does, doesn't it? It's like a 1996 SNES game.
It's like they drew the fucking spitting image puppet of Tyson Fury and then fucking stuck it on there.
And then Ngannou looks like that one of the fighters you get out of the George Foreman comeback thing on like Super NES.
Ngannou looks like someone that nobody
You're
would fucking
mine,
recognize walking
Foreman.
down the street. What is the fucking point of all this? I tell you what, Fury's played us all like a fucking. He's done us up like a kipper. All of us, all these social media posts. Hey, you rabbit. Hey, AJ, you shithouse. Now we know why he was doing it for that fucking Netflix show. It's all over the fucking show. That's what he was doing the whole time, filming that show, fucking doing those deadline, setting this fella a deadline because he needs a fucking storyline for the show. Unbelievable.
Well, the Fury Usyk fight might not be happening anytime soon, Andy. But good news, can exclusively reveal on the pod tonight, Wilder Joshua to be finalised in 2 or 3 weeks.
I've heard that before. Like literally, like I heard it for about a year solid, man. Are you kidding me? God.
He's relentless, isn't he?
Oh, mate. Eddie's just need to shut the fuck up. He's just needing to let the fighters announce it. That's what he's needing to do, and then he can get involved. Fucking hell, you don't believe a word Eddie says until the fighters are in the ring, like 2-3 weeks. Remember, what was it? It was during COVID, wasn't it? We kept hearing that. Was it last year?
Even before that, it was 2017-18
Was it?
originally.
Aye.
You kept saying
2-3 weeks away, Cougs. Fucking months and months went by. And almost a year went by before fucking Fury decided to fight Wilder.
There you are, Eddie. We talked about Hannah Gabriel's earlier. Alicia Baumgardner. I'm not overthinking this situation. I know me and stand 10 toes down. At least you only got 10 toes. The stuff hasn't kicked in just yet.
10
know that.
beautiful toes.
Hashtag and still. Well, Rob, you're not the only celebrity endorser.
Yeah, big pervert.
Miss Undisputed speaks. I truly believe her and we'll wait for the facts. I remember when Gabriel's tested positive and the first person I talked to was Baumgardner. And she said, I got to make sure I get me and my opponent signed up for testing. That's a clean athlete talking.
Well then, what's the fucking big deal? The gold said it, so let's fucking just clear her, get her back to fighting.
Good as gold.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
She said that. She said, I got to get signed up at the testing to clear the shields. That's what she said. She definitely said that.
Good enough for me. Good enough for me. That's all I can say. Nikita Zhu, we were talking about him earlier, Andy. He says, I'm in this because I want to hurt people. It's like a sexual pleasure for me.
Ooh.
They're rogue, them shoe boys, aren't they? When the Costa
mate.
distances himself from them.
When the Costa fucked off to back to Russia, man, he thinks it's better to be back in Russia than back in Australia with A2. My word.
And the women are bonkers too, aren't they? Especially Tim's, but
Oh, aye.
Getting chased around the ring by a guy who's trying to punch you in the face and has an erection. What an awful fucking time.
Hey guys,
You got to low blow him and you need the 3 minutes to recover.
Oh dear. Good old Nikita. Sam Jones had his say last night. He says, thinking about it properly, I think shouts of Dubois should be champion of the world. A bit over the top. I do think Usyk would have got up if the ref started counting, but guess we'll never know. I think Usyk just completely manipulated the ref and old man Daniel with tricks. Who's he referring to, by the way, about these silly shouts of Dubois should be champion of the world? Well, him, an hour earlier. No low blow. Dubois should be champion of the world. Tick.
Jesus Christ.
No, at least he came out and walked it back.
Well, yes. Oh, fair play to him, I suppose. Fair play to him. And Andy, you sent this one to me as well. It's all going down in San Juan. What's that? What's like something out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Put your glasses on, Steve. You'll see what that is.
I think I better take them off.
Bit of poison ivy. Touch of the poison ivy there.
Looking well. Aye. Looking well indeed. Those are all the ones. Oh, hang on. I've got one more actually from Frank. Somebody sent this one in to me earlier. Frank Warren getting all heated and radishy before the fight. Let's see what he had to say.
Daniel Dubois is going to absolutely screw this up for all of them. He's going to knock him the fuck out, I'm telling you.
Go on a fucking Frank, boy.
War Frank, by the way.
Rob, you're liking this new version of Frank?
Yeah, I kind of wanted Dubois to fucking knock Usyk out just so Frank could go, I fucking told you he's going to knock him the fuck out. Didn't I fucking knew, man? I wanted to say that, like, so.
Oh, man. Did you hear him fucking destroying, what do you call him? Two sugar milk, what's his name? Frank Smith.
Oh, Frank Smith, yeah,
the
yeah,
T-boy man.
He hates him, doesn't he?
Fucking hates
Did
him.
he call him a fucking absolute twat or something? And fucking. Fuck's sake. Well, Frank Smith was saying that Eddie or that Frank Warren is a York Hall promoter and a small hall promoter, and obviously Frank Smith can say that because he's a promoter of venues where they block out 3/4 of the fucking seats on TV because they've done fuck all. So he can talk, can't he?
There you are. That's all the ones I've got, Andy. Any from you to throw in that you haven't thrown in already?
Just that Kozubutski, mate, for not giving one iota of a fuck for getting DQ'd. That hamhead opponent, mate, is just like, honestly, I think the guy just dragged right out the alley after smoking crystal, man. So he says, right, here a pair of gloves, mate, go fight somebody. That guy was just, honestly, he was shocking, absolutely shocking. And one for Stephen Fulton, he says he's anxious for revenge against Inoue. He says he can't wait to redeem himself against him. I said, well, he's not done nothing in the fight.
He's going to be suffering from anxiety for a long time, and he's never getting that rematch.
And he's trying to talk all types of crazy shit, and then he got sparked the fuck out for his trouble. He wants a rematch. Fuck off.
Oh, well, good luck to him with that one then, I suppose. Thank you, Andy. Matty, anything from you, please?
Yeah, I was going to say Kotsubutski too, because while we're sitting here arguing about is that a low blow, is that not a low blow, Kotsubutski takes a stand for all people as a martyr and
he
said,
showed you how it's done, man.
Yeah, exactly.
A low blow.
No fucks given. Ref, that was a low blow. Oh, God.
That's how it's done. And then obviously the referee in the Anderson Rudenko fight made it absolutely fucking clear where the line was, because he seen too much shit go down that night and he wasn't going to have his ass.
He was. He was bashing both of those belt lines, wasn't he? Here and here.
He was getting his fucking paycheck. He's not getting any issues either, man. He's doing his fucking money and he's out the door.
Brilliant stuff. Rob, anything from you, please?
Yeah, I don't know if this one might have been covered because I think there was one week I missed there. But did anyone see the fucking AB incident from a few weeks back ago on Instagram where somebody messaged him and asked them for $2,000? You see that? No.
No, I don't think so.
Tuition one?
Yeah, so it was a girl. She was like, AB, can I get $2,000 for tuition? And AB was like, well, did I sleep with you? I don't even know you. Like, what are you looking for $2,000 off me for? And she was like, well, I just thought if you don't ask, you don't get. And all. He was like, send me your Cash App. I'm about to bless you. And she was like, oh, my God. And she sent her Cash App. And then he sent her back a prayer, hoping that she would get $2,000.
Yeah, that was a good move, actually.
So it was brutal day from AB.
I got no money for the pitch.
And this guy, I actually like him. I don't know what he does if he's an MMA guy. Is it Luke Thomas is his name, the American guy? But he does
he does Showtime.
Does a bit of Showtime,
Brian
yeah.
Campbell, yes.
I really like him doing comms and as a pundit, but I have to say, get in the fucking bin with that analysis fucking YouTube channel he has. Does you see that? No. He did the breakdown of Crawford Spence pretty much like a couple of hours after it happened. And like, although obviously like all these things are drilled and fighters spend hours and hours and hours drilling stuff and working on shots, it doesn't happen the way they're saying it. Like the great fighters are doing that shit on the fly. So I don't know if I'm doing a great job explaining it, but basically like they do these kind of boxer-size bench style analysis videos where everything is all like so fucking like some great written prose, and he's like, if you just stop it right there, you'll see Terence Crawford pulls his hands back just 6 inches. This gives him room to maneuver into a space where he can deliver a punch. I'm like, fuck off. You're just saying what's happening slow. Like, we can see the fucking thing. Like, for fuck's sake, great fighters are doing that on the fly. It's not fucking, you know what I mean? So I hate these guys, like, with their new fucking analysis videos and they want to fucking putting in position and hitting the exits and all this fucking nonsense talk. But yeah, I'm not doing a really good job of explaining that, but that's my one.
Shout out to Luke Thomas's YouTube channel. I think Rob's saying there. Go and like and subscribe.
Oh, that's the
guy on Showtime, isn't it? He does all
him and Brian Campbell did a
That's
prelims on Showtime. Yeah, Rob's right. He's a combat MMA guy, I think, by trade.
I don't know about the guy, to be fair. I don't know much about the guy. I've only just seen him in the last few months now, appearing on some of the undercard things, the show on Showtime YouTube.
Yeah, same here. Mr. Dermo is not a fan in the chat. He said he's a terrible person generally. There you are.
Okay, shout out about the details. I don't know anything about the guy, so I'm interested.
No, me neither, Andy. He's no Ralph. No, is it Raf? Do you remember from the analysis channel?
Raf,
Analysis
Raf.
Raf.
It's that kind of stuff. Like Fucking painful. Just watch the fucking fight. Jesus Christ almighty.
There you are. Shout out to Rob. Right, let's have a look through them before we pick our Bellew of the Week for this week. We had Dev Sarni and Tony Bellew going in. We had John Fury flipping tables. We had Lou DiBella getting caught contradicting himself. We had Steve Bunce with the eating tips. We had Buncey talking bollocks. We had Canelo advertising beer. We had Oscar De La Hoya advertising the babes. We had Huey Fury advertising welcome estates. We had the Fury and Ngannou poster. We had Eddie talking out of his arse again. We had Clarissa the Groat Shields talking out hers. Nikita Sue deriving some sexual pleasure from beating people up. We had Sam Jones tweeting out and catching himself out, but he walked it back, as Andy said. And we had San Juan as well, enjoying themselves over there. We had Frank and the firebombing of the Sky offices. So we've had quite an interesting weekend.
We'll never forget.
We'll never forget. I know who I'm going for. Andy, who are you going for this weekend?
I'm going to go for Uncle Frank, mate. He was in good form this week. To be fair, he was icing bodies and that, and he was still got a bit of juice about him and that. He was going to boot there last night, demanding a rematch, demanding a no contest, not really putting in the work for his fighter. So I'll go for Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank, then that's the best thing that could have happened to him there, raising the blood pressure.
Well, the thing is, man, did you see his eye during the weekend? That man, he was raging that much at fucking T-Boy Smith. And that man, he burst a blood vessel in his eye.
Like the Tyson incident all over again.
Someone I want to tell Frank, when it comes to Eddie Hearn, just relax. You're up on the cards, man. You're winning. You're ahead on points. Don't fucking blow it.
He's going on Nate Campbell.
Just move the head, Frank. Don't roll the shoulders. Just move the head. That's all you got to do.
You're like Billy Conn versus Joe Lewis. You're fucking 13 rounds up. Just chill out. You're grand.
2 minutes to go, mate. You're fucking fine. Championship mentality.
Oh, dear. Who are you going for, Matty? I'm going for Oscar, man. I thought.
Oh, come on, guys! I gotta go for the Kazakh that wrecks ball sacks, Jean Kasabutsky. Come on,
the Kazakh that destroys ball sacks. I like it. I like it.
Didn't sorry, late one for K2. Not that's going to matter, but Yigit had some bad things to say about K2.
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier. We played the video. Yeah, we played the video and all. Okay, then. So, Rob, the decision is down to you, or it could be a 4-way tie. Andy's gone for Frank, Kosabutsky for Matty. I've gone for Oscar, Andy's Bird. What about you?
Yeah, I'm just loving this new Frank Warren. Like, so I think we need to see more of it. Like, the stuff. I love the way Umar as well constantly fucking wants it. We'll see more of it when the Ngannou thing is coming up because Tyson is training Ngannou, isn't he? But Umar still throws him a grenade now and then and asks him what he thinks about Mike Tyson. He's a fucking prick.
A fucking ingrate. Tony Bellew. You should ask him more questions about Bellew, man. That'll get him going. I'll see how much juice he's got left.
He's raging, is Frank. But he's won an award. It's the Bellew of the Week for episode 537.
Woo!
Congratulations, Frank. Congratulations indeed. Right, let's get rid of Frank off the screen there and thank our super chatters instead. They're making it happen, keeping the lights on. Joe Burns, member of the Boxing Nutters Messenger Group, has thrown in a $5. And Captain Casual, that's Damo, Photoshopper extraordinaire, has thrown in a $10 there. Shout out to him. And also a shout out to Gary Gray, who upgraded his Patreon subscription over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum this weekend. So shout out to him as well. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit all those buttons before you leave. We thank you for that. Matty will be in the hot seat next week. Thanks to Andy for coming on, to Rapping Rob Kelly, to Take Ames as well. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again for episode 538. Same time, same place next weekend. Thank you all to everybody for listening and goodbye.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good at me.
Go to Adam move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7 year ain't it? 7 year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds, simple as that.